to Rightside Radio. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. Allison is gallivanting around with her husband or something like that. So it's just us today. And we are so glad you've joined us for a Thinker Thursday. It is a glorious day outside, a little colder than I was prepared for when I walked outside this morning. You know, because earlier in the week I was tricked. I was fooled into thinking, we're getting some good weather. But JP, that was not true.
We got fooled.
We did get fooled.
There's few things I hate more than being cold. So don't
hate it.
Don't tease me and then go back to being cold. Just get through the cold and then go to winter. It was like a false spring almost.
I like that. It was a false spring.
You know, they have the false falls, like a false spring.
Yeah. So I had to remember that Alabama, especially in March, you know, February, you kind of get lulled. Some Valentine's Day, the weather's like it is. Some it's cold. And then I thought, but our snowstorms, if they happen, have happened as late as March.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're going to roll with it, but be glad that the skies are blue.
That's true.
You know, there's a lot of news that we get to talk about today. You have a banger montage. We are going to talk about the SAVE Act, which has passed the House. There's going to take some serious maneuvering to get it passed in the Senate, but they think it can happen. We're going to talk about that today because y'all are probably like us. You have friends or family who actually believe the lies that are being peddled about the SAVE Act. I, for one, find it offensive because they're mainly directed, the lies, they're mainly directed at women or minorities. And if you're keeping score, I'm a little bit of both.
Yeah.
And it's offensive to me. I mean, think about it. When you're a little kid and you could do something yourself and your parent tried to take back over, like what's one of those things, JP, that you were really proud that you could do or handle? Was it the first time you drove your car? And you're like, I got it. Like I passed the test. I took driver's ed. You've given me your blessing. I'm out. And they're still treating you like you can't, even though you've passed all legal requirements. You're all good. Right?
Yeah.
You know,
I can't think of one. But yeah, I do know what you mean.
You know, I mean,
annoying.
And when they get back in the car, or I got in the car when I taught my kids how to drive, and after they had driven, they're like, Mom, stop freaking out.
Yeah.
I have my driver's license. I'm approved. I'm good. You don't want to be hovered over. You want to be set free. And once that happens, you just set people free to do their thing. And yet, here comes the Democrats in with lies like we somehow, after we've turned 16, we have a birth certificate at birth, we get our driver's license or an ID. You even have an ID from your school. Or you have whatever you need. And they're coming in going, that's not good enough. Like you met the legal requirements, but it's not good enough. And you know what? We're going to make it worse and tell you what a victim you are. And they're going on and on and on about it. We shall discuss that because I have several things listed off that they're pushing. And I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of the nonsense. Sick and tired of it because this needs to pass. On what planet is it okay for our lawmakers to have to put their ID in to a machine so that they can cast their vote in Washington, D.C.? Or is that just me?
No, it's not just you. It's actually funny because when you talked about getting your license for the first time, they coincide almost. Because can you think of any kid, at least I can't, that just did not. I mean, there were some, maybe they chose not to get their license right away, but there was never an instance of, I can't go and get a license, you know?
Yeah.
Even my friends that would fall under the umbrella of what the Democrats say of like African Americans who can't go and get a license. All of my African American friends in high school got licenses like on their birthday. It was not a thing they had to overcome, a speed bump or something. Even in areas that they claim are more impoverished, in like the Bronx, and that one guy that went and did a video, and everybody in the impoverished areas were like, yeah, I know where the DMV is. It's right down the road. I just go and get
They
my
gave it specifically.
right. Yeah. So it's one of those eye-opening things, because I guess I underestimated how much of a big deal it was. It's like, that is such a common sense like thing, but the fact it's such a big deal and it's getting fought so much just shows how much the Democrats want to rig elections.
They do. Tell me you want to steal
Right.
without telling me.
Yeah.
I mean, it could not be more obvious. And their disdain for people, that pity that they pretend to have, and pity in this case to me is, it's a cloak, and what it really covers is an arrogance that they're like, they need us. We're better than you, you dummies. But we'll help. But really behind the "we'll help" is, but we'll also control you.
Yeah.
And you'll do what we want you to do. So it's a whole thing. I've watched the arguments. Look, both Democrats and Republicans each have their own problems. We do not dispute that. I mean, come on. Republicans have their own issues. But when it comes to the SAVE Act, and when it comes to the lies that have been told, we have to be prepared to punch those lies in the face. I know we've talked about, settling disputes in ancient ways. We talked about that earlier in the week. This one, however, we need to punch these lies in the face. And so we're going to do that later today after the montage. So, but there's other things in the news, JP. And I don't even know if we want to talk about this right now. But do you know what the Olympic mascot is?
No, I didn't even know there was one.
I didn't either. I didn't know.
What, is it an animal?
It's an animal.
Okay. All right. Give me one more hint of like type of animal, or without giving it away.
It's small, and I don't know that you'd want to have it for a pet, but I'd never heard of this animal before.
Is it a common pet?
No.
Oh.
It is a name that you call people. Some people are saying this mascot is the same as this animal that we know, and you might call somebody this name, and it's not a bad name. It's just.
Is it a rat?
You're close.
Really?
It's not, but it's not a rat. It's not a rat. It's not a honey badger. It's not, but it's in that little guinea pig sized family.
Oh.
You can't look it up.
I'm not going to. It's not a mouse.
I didn't even know that this kind of animal existed. And I didn't even know we had. Did y'all know that we had a mascot, like a living little animal mascot?
What is it?
It's called a stoat.
I've never even heard of that.
It's adorable, JP.
Oh.
A stoat.
Interesting.
It is a Eurasian ermine, a small carnivorous mammal in the weasel family, which that's a name you'd call somebody. You're a weasel. Now, you'd call that person a weasel if you're above the age of 65. Okay. We all have our names we called people. That's, I'm just saying. But did you even know that existed?
No, I've never heard of it. I
just felt like I should tell the world that there's a thing called a stoat, and it happens to be the pet of the Olympics.
That's a good looking stoat right there.
Isn't that darling? You kind of want it for a pet, don't you?
You know what I really wanted as a pet growing up were the flying squirrels.
Oh, those are cute, weren't they?
Yes, I wanted one so bad.
I wanted a monkey.
I want a monkey still. Like, if you're talking about exotic pets, I would love like what's the monkey, the type of monkey that was in Friends for a little bit? What's that type of monkey called?
Cute monkey.
Yes.
That's a cute one.
I want one of those.
I want the little ones that I don't even know if they're still at the zoo, and I'll have to find what it looks like, but it is a little bitty monkey, and it looks like it'd be fun to just carry around on your shoulder. However, my mom, when she was growing up, her dad was very fun with pets, and he wanted to give the people in his Sunday school class, whoever could remember the most Bible verses, a reward.
What was it?
A monkey.
Oh my gosh. A monkey.
But the parents wouldn't let them keep it.
I wonder why.
So the monkey's name was Sailor. I don't know what, I think they had to give it to the zoo or a refuge. My grandfather also got them a crocodile, little one.
No.
Little bitty.
An actual crocodile?
And they may or may not have put it in the freezer and it froze.
What? So
he was
funny.
very fun. Anyway, but I want a monkey.
Okay.
That would be the pet that I would like.
Are they capuchin monkeys?
That's
capuchin?
Yes. Those are the monkeys.
They're usually the monkeys that we see people have for pets. There's also the spider monkey.
Okay, what's a capuchin monkey look like compared to a spider monkey?
A capuchin monkey is that like the Friends, the one with the really small face. It's like in the
Night at the Museum?
Yes, Night at the Museum.
Yeah, okay. Capuchin monkey is the one I love.
And the spider monkeys, which by the way, the spider monkeys was the name of one of my soccer teams when I was a kid.
No, it wasn't.
The spider monkey is a bigger version and a lankier.
Okay, no, I want the capuchin because I, like Talladega Nights, don't want anybody going spider monkey because they're out of control. Anyway, so I just thought that to kick our day off today, it would be better if we knew what a stoat was, number one. But number two, that the Olympics, did y'all know this, have pets as like little, I don't even know, mascots?
That's a lame mascot.
I think it's a lame mascot, but it's a very Italian mascot because it's an elegant looking critter.
It's like such a niche, like, oh, why don't we have our mascot as a stoat? Where like the elitist, like,
Right.
a stoat. Of course. Like, what's a stoat?
What are you talking about?
What is that?
Yeah. Never seen one. Adorable. But there you go. That's it.
Oh, we got some funny texts coming in. We will read on the other side. They're pretty good.
Okay.
And we want to get to the montage.
Yeah. So, hey, y'all don't go anywhere. We're going to get to the montage. We're going to get to your text. And we have so much news. We hope we can fit it all in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Beth Shaver with Allison Sinclair, and we are joined by Admiral Brian Christine, who is the Assistant Secretary for Health at HHS, and it is a thrill and it is an honor, sir, to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, it's a privilege to be here. It is so fun to have come back home to Sweet Home, Alabama, to come see my family and to do this, to work with y'all, to do this podcast, to help get the messaging out that we need to, so the American people know the good things that we're doing in Washington, the good things that Secretary Kennedy and President Trump are doing. And so as we start off, I have to give a shout out, obviously, to our president and to Secretary Kennedy, because they are working so hard to make this country healthier than she's ever been, to make Americans stronger than we've ever been, to make America great again. So thanks for the opportunity.
So before we jump into those values issues and talking about making our country healthy again, which is such a relief, could you tell those who may not know you or have heard about you, because you are a legend, a little bit about your background?
Sure.
As we jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born, my father was in the Army. I was born in what used to be West Germany. Now, if you're old enough like me, you remember that one time there was an East and a West Germany during the Cold War. My father was a tanker. In other words, he was in armor in the Army, tanks. And we had a lot of assets deployed along the East-West border during that time. I was born in 1963, really the height of the Cold War. So I was born in West Germany. My father ultimately went Special Forces. In his second tour of Vietnam, he was really severely injured, lost an arm and a leg, got out of the military. We ultimately settled in Augusta, Georgia, had some family there. I went to medical school at Emory in Atlanta, and then I came over to UAB for my residency. And that's how I got to Birmingham. I did my residency in urologic surgery, completed my residency, and then I joined a urology group here in Birmingham. And I practiced with that group for 24, 25 years, really subspecializing in men's health. That was kind of my gig. Then I got the call for the nomination to be the Assistant Secretary for Health from President Trump. Went through the confirmation process. Ultimately was confirmed by the Senate. I was confirmed into this position last November. And here you are. So now I'm in Washington as the Assistant Secretary for Health.
Were you expecting that call? I mean, how does this happen?
Yeah,
you're just like
no, that's a great
Brian
question.
Christine in Birmingham, Alabama, and you get a call that you're the next Rachel Levine. What's her boy name?
Richard.
Richard Levine.
Richard.
Richard Levine.
You're
That's
Richard.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes, I am President Trump. upgrade from Richard Levine.
We would say
there
so.
you
We're
go.
very grateful
Yes.
for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think, listen, I think one of the reasons that President Trump nominated me and that Secretary Kennedy wanted me in the position is because I practiced medicine on the front lines. I was kind of a Main Street doctor. And I think they liked the idea of having someone who really understood medical care and delivery from a Main Street level. I think personally, I think also one of the reasons that President Trump wanted me in this position, because there's really not another visual that shows the difference between the horrible Biden administration and the really righteous and good Trump administration, and the fact that you have me in the same position as Levine. I'm a man who wears men's clothing, and that really says all you need to know about the last administration and this administration. For sure.
I always thought he could have done a better job, like zhuzhing it up a little bit. Like it was like he put on some earrings and a dress, and that was it. Like, but we can work a little harder. But I think America, the juxtaposition is overwhelming from what y'all are doing versus what he was doing.
Well, no, exactly. When you look at Levine, I mean, again, his agenda was no question about it. The transgender and minors agenda was so important for him. All he wanted to do was to tell little boys they could be little girls, little girls they could be little boys, and then recommend castrating surgeries, castrating chemicals, hormones, and do irreversible harm to these kids. So if you go back and look at what he talked about, mostly that was it. I mean, Levine advocated for removing any kind of age restriction on transgender treatment in kids. He advocated for those sex-rejecting surgeries. That's what we call them. People say transgender surgery. No, in this administration, we talk about sex-rejecting surgeries and procedures because that's what they are. And that was his big focus, right? I personally believe he was in that position as a statement. I personally believe he was in that position to be an eyepiece, not because he really cared about the health of the country. So I'm really happy to be in this position to be able to reverse and to right so many of the wrongs that the last administration and Levine, perpetrated on the country.
So in this position, you're able to do a lot of good. Could you talk to us about your roles and responsibilities?
Sure. As the Assistant Secretary for Health, you have kind of a 3-level role. One is to help form healthcare policy, to work across the different divisions of the Department of Health and Human Services, to work with the CDC.
Welcome back to Rightside Radio. Before we get to the montage, JP, apparently we have text. You guys have thoughts, and we're glad.
Yeah, if y'all want to text in during the show, the number is 833-687-4448. If you want to let us know your thoughts. Jeff from Indiana says, JP, I had a pair of flying squirrels when I was a kid, and believe me, they will bite the crap out of you. Smiling face.
Really? Do we ask Jeff from Indiana how he acquired the flying squirrels?
He probably, knowing Jeff, they probably just caught him. I don't know if they have flying squirrels in Indiana, but he seems like I would just caught him in the woods, brought him home. Stephen from Athens says, my granddaddy and I had to kill a few weasels when they would get into the hen house. In the middle of the night after a long day of work, they would kill chickens, and those were laying hens.
Oh, that's not good.
That's not good.
No.
One more, then we'll go to the montage. This one's funny. We got David from Huntsville who says, Democrat representatives need not worry. It's Republican women that marry and change their name.
Oh, that is good.
That's funny.
That's funny. Yeah, y'all are the best. Okay, so JP,
Mm-hmm.
how about, is it time for news?
It is.
Okay.
For news.
The House just passed the Save America Act. The Senate needs to take it up and pass it. It's an easy, common sense step to avoid voter fraud. The vast majority of Americans support photo ID, and yet Senate Democrats are doing everything they can to block it because they want more voter fraud.
I just couldn't help but think about the irony of this. 213 Democrats voted against the Save America Act yesterday. The Save America Act, and what does it do? You gotta prove you're an American citizen to get registered to vote, and you gotta show a dadgum photo ID to vote. And that ID, 213 Democrats used their IDs to vote yesterday. Nobody hollered about racism there.
Look, You can't even get on an airplane. You can't go to a bar tonight without showing a picture ID. Yet there are people in many states where the states actually have laws saying you can't show ID, which is a recipe for fraud.
Say this, we identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female.
What really enraged the entire DC commentary class about Ron Paul is that he was right. Here's a selection of Ron Paul predictions from 2002.
I predict U.S. taxpayers will pay to rebuild Palestine as well as Afghanistan. Taxpayers paid to bomb these areas, so we will be expected to rebuild them. And believe it or not, I expect lobbyists will thrive more than ever during the dangerous period of chaos.
It's wild, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ron Paul, he's way, way, way more libertarian than I am. However, during his time, he was right on during the prime neocon interventionist era of the Republican Party, he was right and based out of all of them. And he got blacklisted and he got treated so wrong. But I think he's being proved correct.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you even really thought back then in the day, like, ooh, we focused more on were his eyebrows real or not.
Yeah.
And not was what he said true. And here he is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on.
I haven't watched this full interview with Tucker that they did yesterday, but I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I want to watch it too. And I'll tell you something else, and we may get to it today, we may not. But the New York Times has a piece talking about somebody else who has been proved correct was Nixon. That's a big deal that the story is in the New York Times. I listened to a podcast series about that probably 2 years ago. So you kind of thought things might have been trending in that direction. But from then on, I'm like, oh my gosh. He got framed. He got blacklisted. He got blackballed. I know people probably have thoughts, but I saved the article because it's unbelievable that it's coming out now. And are these things coming out now like Ron Paul and finding out about Nixon because there's been enough time in between? Do we feel safe enough from those facts, from those ideas? Like, why does it take us so long, JP?
I don't know, but I don't know if you've ever seen Tucker on Joe talk about Bob Woodward and his CIA connections and how his first big break as a journalist was Watergate. It's crazy when you go back. And then you look at how small the Watergate scandal would be today. Like, oh, the Obama administration got caught spying on Trump's campaign in 2016. What happened? He didn't get, yeah.
No,
So,
what's that? Nothing?
Yeah.
Well, or that Nixon, the guy behind the framing, was trying to cover up his relationship with someone not his wife.
Yeah.
So generally, this is going to be about sex, money, or power when it comes to those kinds of things. But it's very interesting that two very old stories are coming back to life, both men looking like geniuses and receiving their due, even if it was delayed. Okay, so the SAVE Act up next.
And FDA and work with HHS leadership to help form healthcare policy. So we help form the policy. We help implement that policy. There's also a communication role, which really appeals to me, in that we help to communicate the policy to healthcare establishments, healthcare providers, and to the country at large. Okay. The Surgeon General falls under the Assistant Secretary for Health. So when we have our new Surgeon General in, and I'm happy to say that Dr. Casey Means will be having her hearing before the Senate on the 25th of this month, I believe. She'll be an amazing Surgeon General. We're going to work so well together. But together, we'll be advancing the message of the Department of Health and Human Services and President Trump to the American people. So there's that communication aspect to the role. And then also, the Assistant Secretary for Health can serve as a civilian, or they can do as I did, which is request commission from the president. So I have been commissioned as the senior admiral at the Public Health Service, specifically the Commission Corps. So you have the U.S. Public Health Service, and then you have something called the Commission Corps, and these are commissioned officers. I'm a 4-star admiral. I lead the Commission Corps. And so one of the other roles I have is as a flag officer and admiral is to lead the Commission Corps of the Public Health Service. And that's about 5,400 doctors, nurses, pharmacists, therapists. Believe it or not, we've got a few veterinarians in there as well, dentists, dermatologists. We are Secretary Kennedy's tip of the spear strike force for public health initiatives. And it's really a privilege to wear this uniform. It's a privilege to receive the salutes that I receive from other members of other uniformed services and my own officers. To wear this uniform is a privilege, but that's a big part of what I do, is to lead the Commission Corps, because we really are the edge of the knife, the tip of the spear for public health in the United States. And I have officers deployed other parts of the world as well, primarily in the U.S. We work at Guantanamo Bay, for instance. We work with ICE agencies. We work with DHS. We supply doctors and nurses to the Indian Health Service, which is a big role. We have officers that work at FDA, work at CDC. They're out in community health centers. So we're all over the place, but that's part of my role as well.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
I had no idea.
It's a lot of people. And these officers, these are good men and women. These are good men and women who want to serve, who care about this country. And one of the things I have been told by officer after officer is they said, we are so happy that we have a new Assistant Secretary for Health. We're demoralized by our prior Assistant Secretary because we knew he didn't really care about us. He put the uniform on as a political stunt. Brian, you wear the uniform because you care about the country and you want to serve the President and the Secretary.
So going into this role, like, you're just kind of starting. If now, and hopefully we'll do an interview as you're leaving and we can reassess, but give us your top 3, like, these are the things that I definitely want to get done while I'm here. What would those be?
Yeah, and so my agenda is, of course, Secretary Kennedy's agenda and the President's agenda. We all work for the President. He is the Commander-in-Chief. I work with Secretary Kennedy as we both serve the President and serve the people. And so the things that are really important to us at the Department of Health and Human Services, we know that affordability of health care, affordability of drugs, making sure we have good health care delivered to everybody, whether it be in a city or in these rural environments, that is something incredibly important to the President and the Secretary and myself. Also, we have our values issues. In other words, and we can talk about this, right to life issues, respect for the dignity of every man, woman, and child in this country. That's incredibly important to us. Taking care of men, taking care of women, that's important. So affordability, these values issues, and doing everything so different from the last administration and the last Department of Health and Human Services. We absolutely are guided by science. That's something that Secretary Kennedy has said again and again. We are guided by gold standard science, and we use that science to form policy and to do things that are going to make America healthier than she's ever been.
Okay, but Dr. Fauci says he is science. So are we Dr. Fauci science, or are we, like, how do you...
Are we science?
We are science. We are science. Listen, people can think what they want about Dr. Fauci. I prefer not to think about Dr. Fauci. I don't have much regard or respect for that individual. But who I do have regard and respect for are RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Bhattacharya, who was so incredibly strong during the COVID pandemic. He leads the...
Welcome back to Rightside. I'm Amy Beth with JP, having a Thinker Thursday. And so Thinker Thursday topic numero uno is the SAVE Act. We have time to call our senators. Of course, we know how they're going to vote. Thank God. However, we have friends and family who stress you out because you're like, well, married women will not be able to they can't vote, because they changed their name. And it's going to be really hard for them, because as a grown woman, they can figure out lots of things, but they can't figure out how to vote. I mean, it's ridiculous. And so we shall punch lies in the face. Shall we do that, friends? So, number 1, the first lie is the SAVE Act will block married women or anyone with name changes from voting because documents won't match. JP, aren't you glad you don't have to worry about that?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'd like to let you know, as I was 24 when I got married, and found it pretty easy to take my marriage certificate with my driver's license and my birth certificate and get a new driver's license with a new name.
Yeah, that's just another one of those, you really think that's a problem for people? They're just grasping at straws. I've never even heard that argument before about married women and they're changing names and how that's going to be. I've never heard of that, and I doubt that's ever been a problem for
Ever.
people.
Except the people who want to cheat are inventing all kinds of lies to trip people up into thinking, oh yeah, that'll happen. Okay, listen. Supporters point out that the bill directs states to establish processes for discrepancies. Imagine that. Accepting supplementary evidence like marriage certificates, or court orders. Critics argue ambiguity could create hurdles, but it is not an outright ban. Real ID, which we have, and states' rules often handle name changes already. This is a claim that is nothing but fear-mongering generated by people who want to cheat. And now they understand the steal is over. The cheating is done if this happens. But I really, before I tell you lie number 2, because I've heard this lie, let me remind you of something we said at the beginning. The same nincompoop liars have to use their ID to cast a vote in the Senate or in the House. They use their ID, feed it into a machine before they can press yes or no or present.
Yeah. And I didn't even know, Mo Brooks on our show talked about how that's a problem in Montgomery. People were voting for other people because I don't think in Montgomery they actually have to use those IDs. But it's you've got ways to prevent voter fraud in as you're voting to keep voter fraud and make it to where you don't have to have your ID. You're using an ID to prove that you need to vote. It's just the hypocrisy. It's amazing. It's just another one of those things, like I said earlier, where it's why is this a problem? But they're telling on themselves. The people who have an issue with it are telling on themselves because they want their constituents to be illegals, or I don't know what they want to make it as hard as possible to keep elections secure. You're telling on yourself because maybe you're scared you're going to lose your spot because your constituency is not real American citizens.
You don't say, JP.
Yeah.
So lie number 2 to that end. Oh no, it requires everyone to have a valid U.S. passport to register. Passports are one option. Others include birth certificates, which we all have, naturalization certificates, military records showing U.S. birthplace, or a compliant real ID indicating citizenship. For those without, states must offer alternative verification. For example, attestation with evidence, plus evidence. Birth certificates, and I know this to be true because I had to change the spelling of one of our daughter's names. It was misspelled at birth.
Wait, really?
Oh.
That's kind of crazy.
JP, just when it's time and you are with your wife and you're like, oh, our baby, make sure that they spell back to you your child's name. Because the person who took the spelling of this child's name down added a C instead of a K. And I didn't notice it for years because you're in mom mode, you're in parent mode, you're just filling out forms. So my bad that I didn't notice it sooner. Okay. One day I looked down, I'm like, this is going to be hard when she goes to get her driver's license.
Yeah.
And so I thought they'd let us go because she used the K, not the C. Oh, no, sir. It took a while to prove birth certificate, social security card, and a letter Oh, and my marriage certificate to prove that I was mom. No problem. Like, I have no problem to go back to South Carolina, get the name changed so that it was properly K. But it was the person who took the name down as soon as she was born, and they misspelled it.
That's
Make them
unbelievable.
read it back to you, or you too will have a child with a misspelled name, and then they like whatever. But birth certificates are like $10, maybe. Sometimes they're free. So please do not insult our intelligence by telling us that this is not. No, it's very easy to do. But leave it up to certain groups of people to complicate it and make it much worse than it is. All right, JP, maybe you've heard this. Stop me if you have. Lie number 3, because we're punching these in the face. Non-citizen voting is a non-issue. And already impossible. It never happens. Have you heard that lie?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Does that happen?
It does. It's kind of like the transgender women in sports. It's so rare. It never even happens. You're all making a mountain out of a molehill. No, it happens a lot too.
Yeah, it does. So it's rare. It's undocumented, but audits confirm small numbers exist. They've reviewed it, but the SAVE program verifications will help with that. And they're talking about people who are slipping through because they're perhaps at DMVs without strict checks in place. It can happen. It can happen. All right. Lie number 4. This is the one the Democrats have pitched their tent and set up camp on this one. I need to say it. Let's see if I can say this right. It will disenfranchise millions of women, people of color, and poor people by creating barrier. Have you heard that one?
Yep. The racism or discrimination of low expectations.
It's unbelievably bigoted.
Yeah.
Back to the, oh, poor you. Like, you need me to help you.
Right.
Like, I've set you free in other areas, but I'm going to come back and hover a little bit and just tell you, you're not as good of a driver as you think you are.
Mhm.
And I know you have your license and your insurance and you're doing all the things and you pass the test, but I'm back to tell you, you're not good. You need me. Okay, this one infuriates me.
Yeah.
It's exaggerated. Estimates like 21 million lacking ready documents exist, but you can obtain them cheaply. Also, social services can help you receive an ID if you can't afford it. And broad polls show 80 to 90% support for citizenship proof IDs. So I wrote this down. I want y'all to remember this. 76% of Black voters are for voter ID. 80% of Hispanics and 83% of U.S. citizens in general are for this. So, JP, how is it that the people who have to use their ID to move around Washington, D.C., just in general, to get on that plane, to drive their car, to cast votes, do not think that the rest of America, especially women, people of color, and poor people, just don't even know a thing about how to get papers?
You know, I don't think they actually believe that. I think that's just their talking point. But the reasoning for why they want to say that, or the reasoning why they don't want this to pass, is the most telling part. Like, I don't know, there may be some like Ilhan Omar or others that are so, I hate to say it like this, but just stupid that they think that what they're saying is true. But Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, I think they know that what they're saying is complete nonsense. Like, I think they know that what they're saying about African Americans and women, they're so disenfranchised, they can't even get an ID and you're discriminating against them. I think they know it's a cock of crap. But they're, like I said, the reasoning for why they're saying it is what they're telling on themselves on, which is they want their constituency to continue to be illegals.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Which is lie number 5, that it's xenophobic. I'm sorry. It's what you said about, we talk about sports teams and their coaches wanting to be for that team. You're for that team. We're for our team. We're for our families, first and then for other people. How is it xenophobic that you are requiring an ID to cast a vote so that you can do a very American thing? I don't understand it. But that's lie number 5, and it is nonsense. So please, when you are talking to your families and friends, most of us are sane, right, JP? And we know that's a bunch of crap.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you look on the internets very long, you know that people actually buy into lie number 4 or 5, the disenfranchisement of voters, or that it's xenophobic.
Yep.
And so back around again to this. Tell me you want to steal without telling me you want to steal.
Yeah. If it's such a non-issue and it never happens, then you have no problem ensuring that it never happens, right?
Right?
If elections are never stolen, then you don't have a problem with actually making sure that they're never stolen. But I don't know. I'd be interested to see how it does in the Senate, because it'll probably have to clear cloture and pass a procedural vote, which needs 60, which I don't know how that's going to work. And also you got the Collinses and the Murkowskis that are squishy Republicans, quote, Republicans, that I bet won't vote for it. I could be wrong, but we'll see. I hope that the Senate can get it passed. But as of right now, in my head, I'm thinking, I don't know. It's a little too tight in the Senate. But like I said, the ones who vote against it, especially the Murkowskis and the Collinses, keep that in mind, okay? They don't want elections to be secure.
No, they don't. So, but what do you guys think about it? Mull it over, text us, give us your thoughts. And then, well, in the next hour, we have even more things to get to, like what happened in Canada and how they first labeled the shooter, which is tragic. I don't know if you've seen the shooter before he committed suicide, but it's the closest thing I've ever seen to demonic possession. Did you see the video of that guy?
It made me uncomfortable. I had to stop watching.
Me too. I could only do about 7 seconds, and I'm like, This looks like Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah, but real life.
But real. It was terrifying. So we'll get to that in the 3:00 hour, but we'd love your thoughts on what's going on with the SAVE Act and perhaps nonsense you've heard about securing our elections. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
National Institutes of Health. I have respect for Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz, who heads up CMS, Medicare and Medicaid. He is amazingly brilliant, amazingly committed to this country. We have Marty McCary, who is out at FDA. Marty also cares deeply. We don't have a CDC director right now. The interim director is a man named Jim O'Neill. Jim is also the deputy secretary at HHS, incredibly smart, incredibly strong, committed to life, committed to science. So those are the people I think about. I don't worry about Anthony Fauci. I don't want to think about Anthony Fauci. He did enough harm to this country. Yeah. I think about President Trump and our team now at HHS because we're doing amazing things.
You clearly are. So could we jump in then to those values issues that you've mentioned? Top of the list, right to life.
Yes.
And underneath that would be people's concern about mifepristone.
Sure.
Could you talk to us about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, I'm 62 years old, turned 62 in December. This is the most pro-life administration that I've ever seen in my 6 decades plus of life. There's no question about it. The most pro-life administration that I've ever seen. I think the administration that is friendliest to religion and faith that I've ever seen. And President Trump has demonstrated that again and again. We stand for life. We stand for the fact that we know that life begins at conception. We respect life until life's natural end. We respect the dignity of the person. We want to make sure that we stand with individuals who believe those same things, and we do. The recent March for Life, you saw that Vice President Vance address the country. The next day, there was a breakfast that was basically for all of the youth, the young men and women who'd come into this country come into the city from across the country. There was a breakfast that morning. Jim O'Neill, the deputy secretary, and myself, we addressed those students, and there were over 2,000 people there. And we talked about the fact, what we're doing for life, the fact that we know little boys are little boys and little girls are little girls, the fact that we know life begins at conception, The fact that we are doing things like, for instance, through my office, the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health, we administer the Title X funds. So let me tell you, so just recently, because of our oversight, directed by Secretary Kennedy, our oversight over Title X funds, $2.3 million of grants that had been given before us had to be returned by Planned Parenthood. $2.3 million that will no longer go to killing children, $2.3 million that will no longer go to lying to women. Because of our oversight, they gave that money back, which is a huge victory. Absolutely. We make sure that we're enforcing the Hyde Amendment. President Trump, Secretary Kennedy, and myself, we are strong for this. No federal dollars are going to go toward abortion or procuring abortion services. We are strong with the Hyde Amendment, and we are making sure the Hyde Amendment is being enforced, unlike the last administration. Yes. We have made sure that monies that when you have youth, children or youths, young girls who are taken in custody coming across the border or something, that federal dollars cannot go to providing abortion services, because that was going on in the last administration. Just totally disregarding the Hyde Amendment. We stand strong. That's no longer happening. So for those right to life issues, we've been incredibly strong about that, and we're very vocal about that. Again, one of the things that impresses me most about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he's always been this way, he really realizes that God has given an inherent dignity to every man, woman, and child, and we respect that dignity.
As an adopted person, and I know as an adoptive mother, we are so thankful for those policies. And as women who've lived through the nonsense, that the lies that have been heaped upon us, that you have to kill your child to have a life.
That's right.
We're very grateful for your stand in that regard.
It's again, all of this is a privilege, but we have to do it for the country. We have to and we have to remember too that all of the wins that we have in this administration and this Department of Health and Human Services, it only takes one election cycle for things to reverse. And so we can talk about this more later, but it's incredibly important for us as conservatives, for us as people of faith, to be motivated to vote in November, to get out, support those candidates who stand with President Trump and his agenda. It's going to be more important than it's ever been. I know every election it's like, this is the most important. So I'm not going to use that hyperbole, but this is an incredibly important election in November. So I want all of the people, all of the men and women who watch this podcast, who listen to this podcast, and there are so many, I want them all to know, tell your friends, tell your families, we've got to be out there supporting candidates in congressional districts and Senate races that support the president in November.
You posted recently about gender affirming care, gender dysphoria, and kind of your work, and you just mentioned, right to life. That I would agree that is a life issue. Were you surprised when the American Medical Association came out recently and said that gender affirming care, genital mutilation, all that should be put off till adulthood? And do you think that we're maybe turning a corner on all this?
I think that is I'm so glad you asked that question, because yes, so the American Medical.
Welcome back to Rightside Radio. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP, and just finished wrapping up our conversation on the SAVE Act and punching lies in the face, because that's exactly what needs to happen. I'm sick and tired, and I know you are too, of having to defend things that are logical and reasonable against invented lies. And I don't know about you, but that's exhausting. And I'm tired of apologizing. I'm tired of shrinking. I'm tired of being told we have to be nice and sweet. What's that got to do with anything? We're talking about our country. If you're paying attention, and you are, because you're looking at what's happening in Michigan, or you're watching what's happening in New York City, where overwhelming amounts of immigrants voted illegally for Zoran Mamdani. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. And that once great city is in a spiral. It is a dumpster fire. It is not so hard to make sure that we use our ID to vote. It's not that hard. It's just because people don't want to. So I'm reminding myself of that, and maybe you are too. But I, for one, am tired of the lies, and I'm really tired of being told as a woman or as a cappuccino person of color
That's a good way to put it.
that I can't figure it out. That is unbelievably offensive. And so I'm done with it today. Done.
I think that's fair. Our listeners are done with it too. We
Are they?
flooded with texts. Yeah.
Sweet.
Let's go to Ian from Hartsel. Says, I don't think left-leaning women should vote anyway, so this is a good thing. Laughing emoji.
I like you, Ian.
Yeah, fair point.
I don't have a problem with that.
David from Huntsville again says, Republican and Democrat voters are for showing photo ID before voting, but not a single Democrat representative in the House thought it was a good idea.
Such hypocrisy.
Allie from Athens says, playing the old lady and recovering radical card. Why is there not a hue and cry from African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, Asian Americans, and women over this disrespectful and condescending narrative? Does everybody in the preceding list need help from the government to get their own name right?
That hurts, because you would think, let's add to that. You would think after all the years in government schools, they'd have them well-trained in advocacy, because that's what SEL classrooms are designed to do.
Yeah.
And so you're telling me after all your years in government schools, what, you don't know how to get an ID after all that training? I mean, they tell on themselves at every turn.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also the party of racism, the Democratic Party, because they want the minorities and the women to rely on them so much that they keep voting for them. And I don't think they realize the discrimination and bigotry of low expectations the party has for them, because like you said, it's the hovers. Like, you can't do this without us. And it's almost like they're brainwashing them to think that they can't do it without the Democratic Party or the government. And that's how they keep them voting for them. But it's bigotry, it's racism, it's discrimination. And then they'll also, like the communists do in the Alinsky's rules, they'll call the other side what they actually are. They'll call the Republicans racist for not wanting voter fraud, but the Democratic Party not thinking that their constituents can even get an own ID, then they're actually the racist part in all this.
And do you even want somebody voting if you can't figure out how to get an ID?
It's funny. Red from Tony actually said exactly that. It said, maybe if these people aren't smart enough to get a license, they shouldn't be voting in the first place.
I like you, Red.
Lisa from Huntsville says, the Party for Women has shown us yet again they think of women as inept and can't do anything without government and or some neutered male to help them. Also, I'd like to point out that there is no push to repeal the 19th Amendment.
Oh, that's good.
Let's see. We got about 20 seconds. Stephen from Athens just says, dang, Amy Beth is once again hitting on all cylinders. Carry on, lady.
Thank you.
Mark.
It's coffee.
Yeah. Well, she's got her coffee. I got my energy drink. That's a great show when we get that combo. Mark from Red Bay says, in the dictionary, the definition beside the word Democrat is, quote, a person that is not very intelligent. That's why they have such trouble getting ID.
Sorry, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. Okay. So, okay. We'll get it back. No, we're not going to get it back together. We're going to be unhinged basically for the rest of the show, because y'all are awesome. We love your comments, and just wait for the conversation we're about to have. It's off the chain. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
Certainly backing away from its prior stance. It was the Academy of Plastic Surgeons. I think that's the right name. The Academy of Plastic Surgeons that said, and this is landmark, they said just this past week that we recommend that we don't do those mutilating surgeries, what we call the sex-rejecting surgeries on anybody under the age of 19. That is huge. That is huge. And I think we are turning this corner. We can never take our foot off the accelerator, because I like to say that gender theory is like a vampire. It'll come back. You may think you've killed it, but it'll come back in the next hostile administration. So we always have to keep our foot on the accelerator for this, and we are, and I am, and President Trump certainly is. But yeah, I hope that we've turned a corner. I really do. This really started with, again, science. So we released at HHS, we released something called the Gender Dysphoria Report, and that was back in the fall. We released this report that basically looked at all the science, and we said, no, the wrong way to treat these children is to perform castrating surgeries. The wrong way to treat these children is to use sex-rejecting chemicals and hormones. The right way to treat these children is with compassionate, competent mental health care. Now, personally, as a person of faith, I personally believe that if the child's parents want this, I think pastoral care is incredibly important to support these kids, right? But we initiated that report. The report was released, and then we did something even more. we had what was called the peer review of that report. So we invited scientists, not all of whom were aligned with us, to say, review this report. Tell us what you think. Put your politics aside, go by the science. And they had to say, you're right. The science backs up exactly what you're saying about this. So I think things like we're seeing with the plastic surgeons, things like hopefully we're going to be seeing more with the AMA, really the shot across the bow was the gender dysphoria report. Because, again, Secretary Kennedy has always said, we use gold standard science to guide our decisions. That's gold standard science. Those kind of things, sex-rejecting surgeries, horrible chemicals and mutilations, that's not the way to treat these kids. I am not going to take my foot off the accelerator on this because, like I said, it is a vampire. If we don't stake it through the heart and if we don't kill this whole gender theory, it's going to come back in the next hostile administration. No question about it. So we're doing great things with that. And that, as far as values, very important to the president, very important to the vice president, very important to Secretary Kennedy and myself.
Can I ask a follow-up question real quick?
Yeah.
Don't forget what you were about to say. Okay. So RFK's ideas, like inverting the food pyramid, are seen as kind of controversial. Some of his suggestions on treatments and things like that. To me, there's more science behind what he's saying than what we've been told all these years. Yeah. I think now, especially after COVID, we're seeing, wait a second, have we been lied to? You're all changing the vaccine schedule for childhood vaccines is huge. But how do you balance that? And do you see much pushback? Because you're saying gold standard science, but a lot of it, people are like, this is new to them.
Well, you know, science is dynamic.
Right.
It's not static. Science changes over time. I'm a physician. I'm a surgeon. I'm a scientist. The way I do things, and I've closed my practice to be in this job, but the way I did things, for instance, in 2025 when I was still practicing, were very different than I was trained 20 years earlier or even 10 years earlier because science is dynamic and changes. And that's what Secretary Kennedy has said. What he has said is we always follow the science, but we have to be nimble enough and we have to be honest enough to say that if the science leads us in a different direction than it has in the past, that we are brave enough and we care enough about this country to make those changes. And that's exactly what you're seeing. You know, you mentioned about the vaccines. I mean, let me be very clear about this. And this, I'm glad you brought this up, Allison, because this is very important. Secretary Kennedy has not taken a vaccine away from anyone. Despite what the lying left will tell you, he has not taken a vaccine away from anyone. Now, what he has said is that we want people to decide what's right for themselves. Yes. We want parents to decide what's right for their kids. We want to put knowledge in their hands so they can make the best decision for them. He has not taken a vaccine away from anyone or anybody. Vaccines are still available. We did look at the recommendations, what the vaccine, the child vaccine schedule should be. And it wasn't just this was willy-nilly. No, what happened is the president said we need to look at this. And so what did we do? We went and we compared the vaccine schedule for children for other countries, other peer countries, countries like ourselves, advanced countries, and said, what are they doing? And we looked and found out that what we were doing was not in line, and they had good science backing them up. So all we did was we went from 17 to 10 vaccinations recommended, but we're not preventing anybody from getting a vaccine. What we've simply done is look at the science and say, this is what the science suggests. So Robert F. Kennedy has not pulled vaccines from anybody. He's not preventing anybody from getting a vaccine. He's simply saying, Mom and Dad, you make the decision for your kids. What we're not going to have in this administration is a government forcing and mandating vaccines into our bodies or medicines down our throat or advocating for cutting our children's body parts off for some left radical, really sick ideology.
I mean, we talk about all the time the regret we have. Like, in
Awful.
what world is it a good idea to take your 6-week-old and get jabbed with 4 different chemicals in one? I mean, but we trusted our doctors, and I think our doctors were just doing what they were told in medical school based on science. So very grateful for that, because I feel like Abs and I are always like, we need to go apologize to our kids.
We really
should
do.
know better.
I think it's, again, we have to be led by science, like I said, but we have to empower patients. I mean, as a surgeon, I lived and died by informed consent. I had patients who I said, maybe I diagnosed a prostate cancer, and I said, here's your treatment options, sir. Here's what I think is best. Here's the options. what's right for you. And if they made a decision that I disagreed with, I didn't abandon them. I said,
Right.
I respect you. We respect people's right, or we respect their intellect to make a decision for themselves. It's all about informed consent. What you will never see this administration, and what you will never see me or Secretary Kennedy or Dr. Oz or Dr. Bhattacharya, you'll never see us try to force our personal agenda on people. We'll always be guided by science, and we'll always give them the ability to make the decisions for their own health.
And you would think post-COVID, people would be thrilled for that. And welcome back to Rightside Radio. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. And in the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking about a couple of Alabama stories, one of which is that the PSC bill died. And
Wait, do you want to say that again?
the PSC bill died. It's awesome. Everybody should have a JP in their life.
How about that?
I love it. Everybody should. But we're going to save it because there's 3 really big Alabama stories that we're going to talk about, as well as, we'll do the 3, but there's just going to be 2 of us.
Yeah, the 2.
The 2, but it's okay. Never fear. We have stories for days, probably stories today we won't get to that we'll talk about tomorrow. That's fine. So that's coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. But at 3 o'clock, JP, which is now. That's right now.
That is right at 3:07.
Could we please, sir, walk into this whole Canadian shooter situation? Do you think, is it possible to replay? And I don't know if it's a police chief. I don't know what they call the heads of police in Canada. All right. Is it the same everywhere? I have no idea. I'm not in trouble with the law. I don't know. But I find it interesting that this came out of his mouth. And I found a great piece about the whole situation in a platform I love to follow or a news organization called The Federalist. Y'all probably like Molly Hemingway on Fox. I love her. I don't even know who wrote this story, but it is an excellent story dealing with what's going on in Canada. But first, JP, if you don't mind replaying that clip, it'd be great.
Yeah, so this is a Canadian police chief.
Okay, thank you. It's a police chief. See?
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Here it is.
We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jesse was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female, both socially and
I know you guys have thoughts about this. Maybe you've seen the clips of this poor, and I do mean not in a condescending way, poor child who was clearly possessed whenever they took a video. And I don't know if it was when he'd been arrested before. I have no knowledge. He's now dead. But to watch that demonic moment of him cackling in a chair, and you think he is a man. He was a man. He was always a man. On his death certificate, it did not list female. It was a man. But the Federalist article says this: the anti-truth media bend over backward to call Canadian trans shooter by his preferred pronouns. Did you notice yesterday that there was a dress involved?
Yep.
Do you remember the headline? I thought, now that's odd.
Yeah. So this is actually a screenshot of the emergency alert in Canada about the school shooter. Police initiated public alert Tumbler Ridge and surrounding area. Active shooter alert issued by the Tumbler Ridge RCMP. Those in Tumbler Ridge area are asked to stay inside and shelter in place, lock your doors, refrain from leaving your home or business at this time. A suspect described as female in a dress with brown hair. Shelter in place, report anything suspicious to police. Yeah. And it's just another instance of transgender violence that the left likes to act as if it's not a thing. I mean, you remember the Nashville school shooter.
Yep.
There was the recent Minneapolis Catholic school shooter, transgender. That there's starting to be a theme of people who are mentally ill, which is what the transgenders are. They hate themselves so much that they take it out on other people. And this is just another example of that, where 8 people were killed. Is it but 8 including the shooter, or I think it was 8 and the shooter that were killed. But regardless, it's just another example of it. I mean, what was the stuff that the Minneapolis transgender school shooter wrote on his casings and like in his journal, like, where's your God now?
Yeah.
It's demonic, and it's time we start treating it as such. Treating it as a mental illness, and people like that, they need help, but they react with violence towards others.
They do. And it says it's an older shooter.
Yeah, I
So,
saw that too. Yeah.
So if we are wrong and this is completely wrong, I am very sorry. However,
Well, it was Dinesh D'Souza who was wrong.
then it was Dinesh. So Dinesh. But here's the deal. The deal is that everyone, and I've got it saved. I'll go find the reference. I've had it saved for a while, for a day like today, because these days continue to happen because we're unwilling to tell the people who think they are trans, I'm so sorry. You're not, but we're going to get you some help. They need our help more than anything else. But of the shooters, it has been documented, and you guys probably know this, every single one of them was on an SSRI. Everyone. They were pumped full, if they were trans, of hormones. A man's body is not meant to take female hormones, nor vice versa. Not meant to happen. So is it any wonder that these people are feeling the combustion created by things not meant to be put into your body? And then what are you going to do with that? It's going to explode. And every time we're finding manifestos filled with hatred. We're finding bullet casings etched with hideous things. And we're finding at the bottom of all of it, lost children that nobody said, you can't do this. I'd rather put you in a place where you can't hurt yourself until you come back to your senses. Then think about it, you guys. This shooter in Canada had parents that allowed him to think he could become a girl. Okay, like what?
Yeah. And also the aspect of it too of, imagine being a parent of one of the kids who was killed by this person, and then the police chief has to, or feels the need to respect their pronouns. That's a slap in the face of the victims and their parents, because this person killed you and your child and lived in this deception, lived in this false reality about themselves. But we respect them so much that we will give them the courtesy of calling them by their preferred pronouns. It's like the lack of relationship with the truth that the police chief in Canada, it has infiltrated Canada so much, their deception and their wokeness and their virtue signaling, that somebody who murdered 8 people in cold blood, 8 students in cold blood, we are so far gone down that rabbit hole that we are going to respect that person and their pronouns. Like, how about this person does not deserve that respect in terms of we're not going to accept their truth. No, truth is truth. This monster killed these people in cold blood. And just the fact that they feel the need, it's such their God. It's another example of that woke is their God, that they do not go against it. Even if somebody murdered people, we're going to respect it so much that we will call them by their pronouns. It is just a slap in the face to the victims. And yet again, an example on how far gone Canada is, but also how deranged this woke mind virus is. It's sick.
It's sick. And think, as you were talking, it made me stop and think, do you realize When you are loved, you want to become a better person. Your wife, JP, will make you want to be better. Not that you aren't already phenomenal as you are, but it's just what love does. It's that God's love transforms. He does not leave us as we are. We become a better version of ourselves. With the woke mind virus, with this death cult, with it appears from all intents and purposes to be demonic. You become worse. You lose your mind. You have to change to become what they think you should become or what you think you should be. You are so deranged that you're willing to chop off body parts and inject yourself with things that make you wholly other and not in a good way. How is that okay?
It's not. Yeah, it's just so demoralizing, like I said, to have the police chief of all people so infected with the mind virus in Canada, the woke mind virus. It's like, until we come back to that relationship with the truth, then it's just not going to get any better. But like I said, they saw respecting that this monster's pronouns as so important, that even though they murdered all these people, we got to respect that because that's our God. And it's just sad.
So when we come back, I have something I saved. I told you I had saved it a little while ago, but here's even a newer version. But it asks the question, who is behind mass shootings? And the answer will probably not surprise you, but mass shootings equals 4+ deaths per million people by group. I'll say that to you when we come back. But see if you can get in order who you think would be in this category, because this is alarming. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back. Still seems to be pushback on that idea. There's pushback on the COVID vaccine still. I have young grandchildren. It's still pushed on them. Can you speak to that at all? Because it's unbelievable after all we've learned, after the evidence that's presented itself, that there would be any pushback at all, that we'd say, no, we really do want to make the decision for ourselves. We want to make the decision for our children. We're not anti-science. We're not vaccine deniers.
That's exactly right.
That's not who we are.
We aren't. I've heard Secretary Kennedy say in his confirmation hearing, just like I said in my confirmation hearing, listen, we know vaccines can save lives. We also know not every vaccine is the same. We also know not every vaccine is right for every individual. So you would think people would be happy to have us be able and empower folks to make their own decisions. But again, I think there are those on the left, there are those who hate the president, they hate the secretary, they really hate the ability of people to think for themselves.
Yes.
Right? So they don't support our agenda, which our agenda is health and freedom.
And we're so glad. So I'll save it.
No, if you're on the track, go. Stay
Well,
on the
I
track.
wanted to talk food pyramid.
Oh, that's
good.
actually where I was going to go.
Okay, perfect. Same brain as always.
Great. I'm glad, because this is important. The new dietary guidelines are absolutely incredible. They are amazing. And so what law requires is that at least every 5 years, new guidelines come out. And so when you look at the guidelines from the past, particularly the recommendations that were made by the prior administration, it was just pushing highly processed, highly sugary, fake food on the American people. Why do we have an obesity epidemic in this country among kids, among adults? At least part because of the junk food that are pushed down our throat. Now, our dietary guidelines do, just like you said, Allison, we've taken the pyramid and we flipped it. What we are doing now is we are emphasizing protein. We're emphasizing whole foods, nutrient-dense foods. We're emphasizing protein gotten through meats and fish, eggs. We're emphasizing whole-fat dairy because that's really healthy. We're telling people, don't be afraid of saturated fat in your diet, right? Don't be afraid. Fat is not about, our body needs fat.
Yep.
Our nervous system needs fat. We have to have fat. Now, we aren't saying go out and overindulge in fat, but what we're saying is don't be afraid of it. We're saying get your protein, get your nutrients, get your carbohydrates from whole, nutrient-dense food, and move away from sugary, fake, processed food. That's all we've said. And I'm telling you, This is going to make a difference in the health of this country, and it makes a difference in affordability. And I really want to touch on that as
Yes,
we talk more
please.
about it.
Yeah. Quick question before we do jump
Sure.
into affordability, because I think that's on everybody's mind. What took so long? Why wasn't the food pyramid inverted before now?
That is a great question. Tell you, there are a lot of forces out there. There's a lot of big pharma. There's a lot of big agriculture. A lot of individuals with a lot of money who really love to see sugary processed foods. Think about that. If you can get kids and adults in this country eating, and I don't want to pick on any particular product, but eating a sugary cereal for breakfast every morning, that's a heck of a lot of money that you make in your pocket as that industry. So there's a reason to push those foods. I think that's part of it. But one thing I will say about Secretary Kennedy is I've described him as being a John the Baptist for our times, because he has been a voice crying out in the wilderness, we're poisoning our kids. We're over-medicalizing people. We are destroying this country from within by bad health decisions. He's been a voice crying out, and so flipping the pyramid, making this, is just an example of the kind of radical change that we see with this administration and Secretary Kennedy, all for the good.
I just have to say that I'm really, about a year and a half ago, I cut out all seed oils. I actually upped my salt intake. I add in like organic avocado oil or olive oil. Like I actually add oil to things. I mean, and it flies in the face of everything. I mean, I promise Lucky Charms were the base of the food pyramid when I was growing up.
I understand exactly what you're saying, because I do too. Like, yesterday for breakfast, before I flew down, made myself some eggs for breakfast, and I poured some olive oil on them, a little bit of salt and pepper.
Some ghee.
Yeah, you don't be afraid of those things.
Right.
Our guidelines teach us to eat the way our bodies have always been meant to eat.
Right.
Not Lucky Charms or whatever the sugary garbage food you want, right? No, not that. Eat whole foods.
right.
Eat nutrient-dense foods. Listen, affordability plays a role, or the guidelines rather play a role in affordability. People don't think about this. If you eat the way the guidelines suggest, in other words, if you go out and you buy a pound of ground beef, how many hamburger patties can you make from that? You can feed your whole family, as opposed to going to buy one lousy food, burger from some company out there that's a fake food. If you eat the way the guidelines suggest, whole fruits and vegetables, whole nutrient-dense food.
Welcome back to Rightside Radio. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. So, two things. One, I asked the question, who is behind mass shootings? JP, are you going to be surprised when I tell you that number one, first on the list, are trans, it says trans/NB, bio male, trans NB bio female. Okay. And these two are 0.769%, 0.667%. And then it goes even lower. Mass shootings. Asian men, then black men, then white men, then Asian women, then Hispanic men. It's lower and lower and lower, but at the top of the list. And so I found an article by Peter McCullough from this summer that two massive studies, this is from August 29th of 2025, two massive studies show SSRIs, like them or hate them, increase homicidal behavior and violent crime. And as autistic transgender school shooters multiply, RFK Jr. is probing whether SSRIs used by 40%, but I've seen studies where it's higher, that they were all, but 40% of trans individuals are fueling the bloodshed. Does that surprise you?
Nope.
I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
So we've got problems.
Yeah, we do. Like I said, it's the hatred of self that you feel the desire to change how God made you. But that just, if you hate yourself, then you're going to hate everybody else who doesn't affirm you in that. And it is becoming a crisis, and to a point of there's got to be intervention somehow. And when the police chief of whichever part of Canada this was, just affirms their pronouns after they just murdered students, that right there shows you where the problem lies. Because as long as we continue as a society to affirm these people and their illness, then stuff like this is just going to keep happening, because they're going to see people who don't agree with it, or even just innocent kids. They're going to see them as worth killing. And as long as you continue to affirm that lie, you will continue to get crisis and instances like this. And we got to protect our kids.
No, we really do. So from 2024, the idea that 1 out of every 33 high school kids, this is Robert Sterling, is trans is patently absurd. The DSM-4, which psychologists used from 1994 until 2013, estimated the prevalence of transsexualism. That's what we used to say. It's transsexual. Now you can't say that. It's trans. To be one, listen to this. Like, gird your loins. 1994 until 2013 estimated the prevalence of transsexualism to be 1 out of every 30,000 males and 1 out of every 100,000 females. So you mean to tell us all that researchers just 30 years ago were off by a factor of 1,000 times? I'm sorry. He says, and he's right. It's not bigotry to call this a social contagion. What we're doing to our kids is a disservice. How did that happen? I mean, you probably have read or seen bits of Abigail Schreier's book that I actually have right back there, Bad Therapy. It's an incredible read, like really, really good read. Because truly before 2012, we didn't hardly have information about this at all. Clinics, maybe a couple across the country. And now there's a proliferation. It is a woke mind virus. It is a contagion. I think it's a TikTok trend. The New York Times says what this guy reported 2 years ago, that there's been a massive growth in kids identifying as trans. And are we surprised that in our classrooms that are fueled with social emotional learning, with critical theory, and whatever else we want to throw at them? Oh no, not reading, writing, not logic, not learning how to think. This is what we're generating. So we've got to change that too. Like, there's many levels on which we need to do a deep dive and go, all right, this is just stupid. It's stupid and it's harmful.
Right. If you're not going to do it to protect kids from getting shot up, because what's funny about the stats you read off, how I was told by Democrats that dangerous white men were the biggest threat to our society, and all of these white male school shooters, and they were like what, in the middle of the pack on that list. So no, it's not the transgenders, and where they have to literally hide the manifesto of the Nashville school shooter because it talked about how he targeted the Christian school, because that would show that the transgender school shooter who was deranged specifically targeted Christian kids in a Christian school because they did not affirm, the Christian faith did not affirm his truth. No, but it's actually, white men that are most dangerous.
Duh. Obviously. Yeah. It's toxic masculinity.
We're reaching a point where we continue to affirm this, then we're just creating dangerous individuals.
Again, like we talked about with the SAVE Act and the voter ID, we need to get serious and punch those things in the face. Truly. Just keep punching the lies in the face. It's our only option at this point because we played footsie with it for too long. Just saying. All right. There's more on the other side. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Y'all have heard us talk about Inspire Advisors, how Paul Breyer and his team at Inspire Advisors will help you grow your investment portfolio while also screening out companies that don't stand for conservative Christian principles.
Paul and his team are experts on what they call biblically responsible investing. And for a limited time, they're hosting a free class that you can register for.
Check out the class and register for free at moneypatternwealth.com. It's godly, it's conservative, and it's financial freedom.
Again, go to Inspire Advisors at moneypatternwealth.com. Check them out and tell them you heard about them at Rightside Radio.
Cheaper, it will put money in Americans' pockets. It is affordability immediately in your pocket. I know because I've done it. I've looked at this and I do it now, and I tabulate what I would normally spend if I were not following our guidelines. You're going to save money by doing that. And in the long run, our country will be healthier. There will be less obesity. There will be less heart disease, less chronic disease, and things will be cheaper that way too. But there's immediate affordability with our guidelines if people really try it out, if people really embrace these guidelines.
How do you respond, though, when people say, well, what about the food deserts? What about the rural areas that don't have access to whole, fresh foods?
I think that's great. No, I think that's a real concern. How do we water those food deserts, if you will? And that's important, and we're certainly working on that. You know, there's the rural health transformation, $50 billion from the federal government that will go to certain states. Alabama has received over $200 million of that. That, I think, $203 million was the statistic that I got this morning when I was checking on that. What's that going to go to? Bringing better health care to rural areas like we have in Alabama and other states, bringing quality health care, improving health care outcomes, educating people about the right foods to eat. And yes, there's a role for trying to get rid of these food deserts as well. But there's so much going on in this administration that we're doing that are win, 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 win. It's promises made, promises kept by President Trump, Secretary Kennedy, and everybody, all of us who work at the Department of Health and Human Services.
Could we talk a little bit more? I remember years ago the rural medicine push. My husband's a gastroenterologist, so I was with him, remembering hearing all of that. Seemed to get better. Now it seems that we're back scrambling, trying to get that rural healthcare situated again. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us about that in a little more in depth?
Sure. I think this is the perfect example of how President Trump cares about everybody in this country. You know, we don't just care as conservatives and as Republicans and as members of this administration. We don't care just about the big cities. We care about every part of the country, and we certainly have rural areas that they are facing challenges for healthcare access. And so this rural health transformation is hopefully going to help improve those situations. Again, like I said, $50 billion going out to states, our own state, Alabama benefiting, other states benefiting as well. But no, President Trump realizes we have to make America greater than she's ever been. We have to make America healthier than she's ever been. And this is going to be part of that.
That's great.
Are there any other issues that you want to touch on or things you're working on? And
Sure.
Welcome back to Rightside Radio. Okay, so far the SAVE Act, then this trans shooting tragedy, this man shooting children, 8 people, and then at least 12 more injured in Canada. And an adult human being went along with the pronouns, which is insane. But from here, let's talk about 2 things. JP, one of them I forgot to bring up, but I'm intrigued. I found a clip about it. Tom Homan says that we're withdrawing from Minneapolis I want to talk about that. And then I want to talk about the Nancy Guthrie story because it's weird.
Yeah, it is.
But Tom Homan first. What are your thoughts on, okay, well, we're done. Good, bad, indifferent? What do you think?
Well, real quick, we want to play the 30-second clip of Tom Homan so the audience knows what we're talking about.
Why don't you do that?
So this is Tom Homan today announcing that the deportation surge in Minneapolis is now going to be concluded. And he gives his reasoning as to why in the clip. But here it is real quick.
With that, and success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue through the next week.
Yeah. So do you mind? Well, you indulge me for just a second, okay? Because yesterday, we talked about Pam Bondi and her disaster of a meltdown, I guess is the best way to put it, talking about the Epstein files, which it was disastrous and it was a meltdown. And we had a couple of listeners, well, not really a couple, but a listener in particular that talked about how, we sounded like Democrats and our critique of Pam Bondi and the president was just, they couldn't listen anymore. This kind of falls in the same lane. And I just want to say this real quick, okay? I don't live and die by party in terms of whatever the Republican Party does is correct. I have my own beliefs. I have my own values. I have my own things that I would like done by the administration. And when the GOP or the Trump administration, which they do about 95% of the time, goes along with that, then I am along with the GOP in that. But whenever the GOP or the Republican Party or whoever does not go along with my personal, beliefs and values and what I think needs to be done, then I am not going. That doesn't mean I'm going with the liberals and the left and the progressive crazy left. I'm just not agreeing with the GOP on that issue. I didn't agree with how Pam Bondi and the Trump administration handled the Epstein files, and I thought it was bad. I called it out. That doesn't mean I'm a low-life Democrat, because it's a bit more nuanced than good side, bad side. Disagree with good side, you are on the bad side. No, how about the good side, on the quote good side, is not doing what I think is right? That doesn't mean I'm with the left or the liberals. That just means I'm holding my side that I agree with most of the time accountable. And that's how I felt with the Epstein files. And that's just how I feel with this pulling of ICE out of Minneapolis, because I was worried that after the Renee Good and Preddy incident, where they were killed, that the left would use that as fodder and use it as their ammo to say this Gestapo regime is killing people in Minneapolis, and it would look awful optics wise, and the Trump administration would bow out because of how bad it looks. And that's what this is, in my opinion. Do you really buy that in Minnesota and Minneapolis that they are getting such unprecedented levels of cooperation from local police that ICE doesn't have to be there at all? Like, do you really think that Minneapolis and Minnesota officials are going to deport people to the level that this administration wants, so much so that they don't even need to be there? I don't think that's happening.
No. And it's funny, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about this because it's the same for both stories. Not only do the three of us share this, and many of you do too, where you're surprised that you're going to have to constantly speak out against your own party because they do dumb stuff. Because Pam Bondi continues to surprise me with the things that come out of her mouth. I'm sorry. You don't go talking about, what was it, the GDP or
the NASDAQ.
The NASDAQ, when it's what you said, JP, they covered up for pedophiles. They did. She lied.
Mm-hmm.
They covered up. And they're doing the same thing, just differently. Same, different. They're covering up for fraud, waste, and abuse in Minneapolis, and they're expecting us to be happy about it. Pam wanted us to go, deflect, look at the NASDAQ. And here they're like, we're just going to go away. Look away. There's nothing to see here. That umbrella is covering both things. Just look away. There's nothing to see here. We're your party. Trust us. No, we don't trust you. Tom Homan, we appreciate you, but we do not believe you when you say, yes, we're going to trust the authorities in Minneapolis to do what's right. They haven't done what's right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Nothing. So why do you think we're going to believe you now? Because you said it? And the same with Pam Bondi. You want us to trust you that you called Thomas Massey some like woke I don't even know what she
Trump
said about
derangement syndrome and a failed politician.
That's what you have to say? I mean, they're singing off the same song sheet. Trust us. We've raised the alarm about two very big issues, fraud, waste, and abuse in Minneapolis. We saw it with our own eyeballs. And the same with Epstein. We've seen it with our own eyeballs. We're watching what's happened. We know you're covering for pedophiles. I'm sorry, unless you just release it all and don't redact names of co-conspirators, why should we trust you?
Mm-hmm.
And then for people to be upset that we're calling them out for their dishonesty, guys, that's what's wrong with us as Republicans. We try to rally around things that aren't as important as the main thing. The main thing with Epstein are the children and the women and the men who were abused. And the same thing happens in Minneapolis. Children, women, the citizens of Minneapolis have been abused because of fraud, waste, and abuse. And we're supposed to just sit back and go, who cares that they're leaving?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? I don't understand anymore.
Well, what this is a win for the left, because what this was they got Minneapolis, and Tim Walz got exposed with this massive, massive, massive scandal of Somalian fraud to the count of billions, actually bigger than the actual GDP of Somalia. Okay. I'm not kidding either. And in response to that, the Trump administration rightfully sent a surge of ICE into Minneapolis. Then the Marxists and leftists, Antifa, led by Tim Walz, saying, stand with us, fight against ICE. And they did. And we had protesters interfering with ICE, blocking roads, trying to ram ICE with their cars and resisting arrest like Preddy was. And when they fought ICE, the leftists won because ICE is now retreating and ICE is leaving Minnesota with not nearly enough of Somalians getting kicked out of our country in response to that. So Tim Walz led the rallying cry. We're fighting the federal government, interfere with ICE, stalk ICE, put phones in their faces so that when prosecutions come, we got evidence, and they did. And the left won. And that's what that was. So this sets a precedent for everybody, in California and Oregon, Minnesota, everywhere, that if you fight ICE hard enough and just long enough, you will win. And ICE is not going to push through and do what they need to do in spite of that. And that's the precedent that it's sent. And newsflash, I don't know if some of our audience isn't aware of this, but as of last year, the end of last year, there was only 300,000 deportations. That's according to actual data. Now, they claim that there's been over 1 million self-deportations with some anecdotal poll, which is crap anyways. There was like polls of certain areas of people, and it was not a actual data set. It was an anecdotal poll. So as of right now, the amount of deportations is not to where they need to be. And when you let protesters run you out of town like ICE just did, it's such a disappointing win for the left. And on top of the message shift of we're going after the bad illegals, not all the illegals, the bad ones and that shift has been so disappointing. So I'm going to call it out when the GOP or the Trump administration is not doing what I think they need to be doing. It doesn't mean I'm some purple-haired leftist when I do that. It means that, look, we got a country to save. We've got 10 million illegals that came in under the Biden administration. They need to leave now. And when Antifa wins against ICE, I got a problem with that. And I'm going to express, hey, that's not okay. And I'm just disappointed with that. Because like I said, their reasoning of we've got local cooperation. Oh, the same, like you said, the same local police and the same local administration that allowed them to come in and commit fraud in the first place is going to be the one that now, oh, yes, we'll cooperate with you. I don't buy it.
So such a crock. It's a crock, JP.
A crock.
Large one. Oh gosh. That's why we're here. Because you and I, the rest of us, do want to be able to call out our party. Because we hold space that both things can be true. We can be happy to be conservatives, but we can also be concerned. We're not turncoats, like you said, blue hairs, when we call ourselves out. We're just not. We're actually being honest, keeping things clear. Because as my friend Heather says, unclear is unkind. And we don't want to be unclear. So they didn't meet the standard either in Minneapolis and pulling out of there. And they certainly haven't met the standard when it comes to Epstein. This is a dumpster fire of epic proportions in both cases. Both party-related issues. We're disappointed in both.
And by the way, the year started with, I think, the greatest thing Trump has done in both presidencies with the sacking of Maduro. That was amazing. And I, gave him his flowers, rightfully so, when that happened. And I was hoping that would set a precedent for deportations like crazy this year. And, maybe a righting of the ship of the Epstein debacle. But if we're wanting to get the people out that came in the Biden administration, we cannot do what we just did in Minneapolis and bow to the protesters. That's just not you've got to have the gumballs to do what needs to get done and get them out. It could look awful for the midterms, but the sovereignty of our nation is way more important than that. So
preach. That's right. Okay. So no, it's break time, JP.
Mm-hmm.
When we come back, we'll do text because we have a brilliant audience. Maybe we'll play that funny thing that I found this morning just because we need a little bit of a smile.
A mood booster.
A mood booster. That's right. Caffeine for the show. And then in the 4:00 hour, we've got an Alabama news block. We've got something by Yellowhammer. We have an Aaliyah situation. And then we're going to talk about the frat at Alabama that lost its house. This is a big deal. And JP, you have thoughts on this. And then we'll do the 2 at 4:30 and continue to look into your text. So y'all, there's still time to go. And we're just getting cranked up. We'll be right back.
I want to say one thing about some values issues, and then I would like to talk about some things we're doing for affordability and such in the administration.
And talk about Trump RX. Because are y'all part of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Trump RX, great idea. The idea being is that people are going to be able to be linked up with ways to get the most affordable drugs they can. Again, this is going to put money in people's pockets immediately and today. Trump RX is a great program. Again, helping people to get linked up to get the drugs that they need at the lowest prices they can get. So yes, incredibly important. The last on the values issues, going back for just a second, one of the things that I think is incredibly important is that we see the rise, unfortunately, in this country of what people will say physician-assisted suicide. I call it euthanasia. I call it physicians and nurses helping murder people. We see this on the rise in this country. If you look at countries like Canada, it's one of the leading causes of death. Canada was so proud of itself, this was several months ago, because someone who had been who had euthanasia, who chose to die by their own hand or a doctor's hand, they donated those organs. That's a horrible precedent to set.
Good grief.
We have states in this country that have adopted bills or adopted those laws. I think most recently it is Governor Pritzker in Illinois has signed a bill into law to allow euthanasia. Governor Hochul is considering that. She will probably sign that in New York. Listen, we've been down this road before. If you look back in the 30s and 40s in Germany, the T4 program, which was the euthanasia program, to relieve the society of the burden of life, quote, they said, life unworth living. Since when do we become God and judge? No life is unworth living. That doesn't mean there's not suffering. But when you say, I take the most vulnerable, whether they be kids with a terrible cancer or adults at the end of their life, and we say that life is not worth living, so we're going to kill them off, that's a huge problem. It is a really dark slope, a really dark precedent, and I feel very strongly about that. I have an op-ed that I wrote that is going to be released on Breitbart that addresses this. That is something we take very seriously in this administration.
It's one you don't really think about.
You really don't. And yet, I think maybe it was Francis Schaeffer way back in the 70s who said that if we are going to allow abortion, the logical conclusion can only be euthanasia. And back then you go, oh, that's ridiculous. And here we are.
Right. I mean, let's face it. We remember what Bill Clinton, safe and rare, talking about abortion. Right now, what is it? Now it's Katie bar the door, all the way up until the day of birth, or goodness gracious, during labor. So you're right. You look at something like that, and that person was a prophet so long ago to talk about that.
So could we values issue, your choice, because you're you. Yep. Values issue, or could we go to affordability for one quick second? I wanted to ask you about PBMs and where things stand with pharmacy benefit managers, because as I understand it, y'all are working on that.
That's right.
Helping people make drugs more affordable. We have someone in our household who takes a medication, and without help, it is a ridiculous price. So we're very thankful for the work that you're doing. But could you speak to the pharmacy benefit manager and their role in perhaps keeping drugs more inflated than they should be?
Sure. I mean, I think if you look, everything President Trump is doing, everything that we're doing at HHS, and a lot of this falls under Dr. Oz at CMS, Medicare, Medicaid, everything that we're doing is to reduce drug prices for people in this country. President Trump has worked hard to bring what we call most favored nation pricing. In other words, people in this country paying prices for drugs that are commensurate or the same as other countries, as opposed to these jacked up and ramped up prices. There are so many things President Trump is doing to work to lower drug prices for all of us. The PBMs are right. That's an area some people call them the middlemen or the middle managers. Everything that we're doing is trying to lower drug prices for people in this country. You mentioned Trump RX. Again, a huge step forward to help people connect with how they get the drugs at the lowest prices they can. Absolutely. If you look, there are, through CMS, there are drugs that are used for cancer treatment and chronic disease where we're working hard, and we have lowered those prices, producing incredible cost savings. We've seen that compared to last year. There's going to be more price savings and more drugs on that list. The prices are coming down in 2026 and more even in 2027. Again, working to lower the cost of these drugs that are important to treat cancer or to treat chronic disease. We are winning on the front of bringing down drug pricing. Are we winning fast enough? Listen, President Trump will always say, no matter how good we do, we could always do better. He is such a lion to move things forward. So we're working hard on that, and we're pushing forward. We want drugs to be as affordable as they can for people in this country. And again, there are concrete things that we have done.
Hey, welcome back to Rightside Radio. I'm Amy Beth with JP, having a Thinker Thursday, and we've thought through a lot already today. In the 4 o'clock hour, don't forget, we've got an Alabama block of news. One top story is very exciting. And it's the power of what happens when the power of the people go, yeah, we've had enough. But you have to stay tuned to find out. JP.
Yep.
How about our little bit of fun and games? Okay, I found this clip today and it made me laugh really hard. I hope that you're in your car and you're cracking up too. Okay.
It's our mood booster for the day.
It is.
Refer to the white person in your life. They're your milk munchkin. They're your pale pal. They're your marshmallow fellow. They're the Blandalorian. They're a blank document. They're your Arctic Hermano. They're Gringo Star. They're a frost giant. They're a hacky sacker. A khaki packer. A cracker attacker. They're hueless and clueless. When we all get together, that's an ivory advisory. They're your Pearl Girl. They're a mighty whitey. They're your little colonizer. They're your Wonder Bread dunderhead.
By the way, those are nicknames for white people.
Nicknames, white people, the safest people to make fun of.
The Blandalorian was my favorite.
That's my favorite. Or the khaki, is it the khaki packer?
The khaki packer.
But the Blandalorian. That's just, look, and if y'all have other appropriate mood boosters and you want us to play them, send them our way.
Keyword appropriate.
Appropriate. That won't get us kicked off. Okay. Appropriate mood boosters. Send them our way, DM them to us, because we love to laugh. All right. Yeah, I showed that to Chris and he thought that was hilarious. So now Allison and I have been known to read some lists. You remember a couple years ago when that list from Auburn got released of all the white people names? Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, say less. If you need me to find it, I will. We can do it next week. It's a hoot. I don't even think anybody got in trouble for it, but Allison and I picked out our favorite names. It's a whole thing. And another list was released from another university of white people names. But that one, that took the cake. That was the best. Good sir, before we take a break at 4:00, do we have texts?
We do.
Okay.
Let's see. Keith from Huntsville. First of all, oh wait, where I read that one. He said, the rioters in Minnesota are going to be saying that they won, that they chased ICE away.
Yes. Yes.
Sure.
Yep. They can make their own creatively put together signs that we chased ICE away.
Mike from Florence says, there's going to be a new surge of illegals already in the country heading to Minneapolis.
He's right.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. Hey, with all those suitcases full of money that they said didn't happen, but we saw that it happened at the Minneapolis airport, they're using that money to get them back here.
Yeah. Britt from Athens says, all caps, preach. This quote, loyalty to the party mindset is garbage. Give credit where credit is due, but call it out when someone does something wrong. That is what it's like to have real principles.
Yes. Yes.
Badger from Athens says, what if ICE is still going to operate in Minnesota, but on a smaller, quieter scale? Well, there's a massive pullout, and Tom Homan said that this surge operation is concluded. So I don't know. There may still be smaller pockets of ICE, doing targeted raids. But in terms of the surge of ICE to deport the Somalians after the revelation and the exposing of this fraud, that surge is done. They're all coming back. So that's and I don't even know the numbers. Do we know how many of these Somalians that actually partook in the fraud got deported and arrested in that surge? Does anybody know? I didn't see much of it. All I saw was ICE getting interfered with, and I don't know. I'd like to see numbers of the deportations from that surge, but I'm
looking it up. I think you're asking a very uncomfortable question, and now you're just meddling.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, I don't know, but what I wonder, they're saying that busloads, this is on January 13th of this year, busloads of illegals were flown out of Minneapolis, but what's that number? Like you said earlier, that's just anecdotal evidence. How many people left?
Mm-hmm.
How many people were there? And how many people aren't here any longer? We don't know. But what I also want to know, okay, so Governor Walz wrongly said on Tuesday, this is 2 days ago, mass deportations in Minneapolis have been a loss for everybody. But what we found, the only thing I see, this number is 4,000 arrests were made in Minnesota since the start of Operation Metro Surge. 4,000.
Yeah, I'm seeing in December 2025, federal authorities in Operation Metro Serve arrested 12 individuals in the Twin Cities, 5 of whom were Somali nationals.
Do you think Tom Homan really wanted to say we're leaving?
I'm not sure. The Trump administration ended TPS for Somalis, with protections ending of March 17 of this year, making roughly 2,500 Somalis eligible for deportation. But that's eligible for deportation, so I don't know.
More to discuss when we come back.
JP here with Rightside. I need to remind you that Inspired Advisors is one of our sponsors, and they are doing amazing work. We know this audience, and you're the kind of folks who believe in standing up for your principles and being good stewards of your resources. What if the companies you're invested in don't reflect your values at all? That's why you need to meet Paul Breyer and his team at Inspired Advisors. Inspired Advisors, they are experts in the field of biblically responsible investing. They can help you grow your bottom line while also being proud of what companies you invest in. Inspired Advisors, you got to go check them out. Here's their website, www.moneypatternwealth.com, and tell them you heard about it on Rightside Radio.
The drug prices down. There is a role to play also thinking about Medicaid services.
Mm-hmm.
Prescription drugs and Medicaid account for over $100 billion. Again, actively, there is a program out that states can opt into where they're getting lower prices for prescription drugs for Medicaid patients. And you may say, well, Medicaid doesn't affect me. But again, when you think $100 billion or more, it affects all of us because all of us are paying into that. We have lowered drug prices for Medicaid patients if these states opt into the program. The program is called the Generous Program. It's an acronym. The idea of lowering these prices, that's putting money back in the pockets of all Americans, those of us who pay federal taxes anyway.
Yeah.
So we are winning on all fronts when it comes to lowering drug prices, but there's more that we're doing. There's more to come, but we've done concrete things already.
Can y'all do anything about stopping Big Pharma from advertising every single slot during every single football game or thing I want to watch? It's really annoying.
I am
true.
so happy that you asked that.
Well, good, because I'm expecting you to handle it.
I'm so happy you asked that. So after I had my confirmation hearing in July, and that was before I had my confirmation vote, but I had my hearing. We felt good about things. I closed my practice here in Birmingham, and I wanted to move up to Washington. And so I reached out to the commissioner at FDA, Marty McCary, because I know Marty. I said, Marty, can I come work as an advisor? Can I come work at the FDA? So I worked for about 3 months at FDA before I got confirmed into my position that I'm in now. One of the things that Marty tasked me to do when I was there was to work on this very issue, the direct-to-consumer marketing. Yeah. And if you remember back in the fall, there was a huge announcement because we had sent out multiple warning letters to companies saying, you can't advertise the way you're doing. Because you'd have these advertisements, you've seen them, we've all seen them on TV, where you have people dancing around and looking happy, and then they put in the fine print for 10 seconds, the drug may cause suicidal ideation or death, It's unfair marketing. It's lying to the American people. So yes, we are working on that. We've done more than any other administration to send these letters to stop these ads. Okay, there's more work to be done. But at the last administration, virtually nothing being done. Now, is that because they were in cahoots with Big Pharma? That's what I think personally. But regardless, they were doing nothing. This administration, Secretary Kennedy, we're really addressing that problem. We do have more to do, but we've done so much more than has been done previously.
Yeah, I actually, if you stop and listen, you're like, why would anyone want to take that? Like, you're surely going to die.
Yeah.
And some of the side effects are kind of funky. You're like, I don't know if I want that.
We want companies to have to be able to tell the American people with their ads, these are the potential risk of this drug. Again, it all goes back to informed consent. Mm-hmm. Americans need to understand what the risks are and the benefits are of anything, whether it be a surgery, whether it be a drug. We want to hold the companies accountable for that, and we are doing that.
Well, I just kind of want them gone. This is like, you're watching like the Alabama Auburn basketball game today, and you're like having a great time, and then all of a sudden you got to think about, well, I might have kidney disease, and should I take that? Like, this is just ruining my day.
They're just unfair. They're just not realistic. If you had, in my personal opinion, if you had an ad where they said, listen, this is the drug, this is the condition it treats, these are all the potential risks, talk to your doctor that you trust and make a decision, great. But no, the ads are the people dancing around and jumping around and showing their best life in the fine print when they talk about the things you're talking about. They're not honest. We are working to improve that. We've done so much more than any other administration has done. But you're right, we need to work harder, and we are. I promise you, we are.
I believe you.
Yeah, we do. So what are other issues that we may not have covered yet that you want to make sure and talk about?
For years, we've known, those of us who are conservative, we knew that, for instance, in Medicaid programs, there was fraud going on. Yeah. Right. So what do you see up in Minneapolis and such, in Minnesota, in California? We are just exposing the actual fraud to the billions of dollars that's costing this country. Did that ever happen before? No, but it's happening under President Trump. It's happening under Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz at CMS, Medicare, Medicaid. Let me tell you, he is hitting this hard. The Office of the Inspector General at HHS is hitting this hard, exposing this fraud. We are we are going to save Americans billions of dollars because of identifying this fraud and ending this fraud. That's real affordability when you think about that. That's money that is being stolen away from the American people. We are working hard to put an end to that. That's direct affordability, and that's going on. And it's really disturbing to think that your federal dollars, my federal tax dollars are being sucked away by liars and cheats. But we are working hard to stop that. And I'm telling you, there's incredible work going on with that. Americans need to remember that. Again, remember that every day, but remember that in November as you cast those ballots. If you want to go back, if you want to go to people who would let fraud go on, all you have to do is not vote for the candidates that support the president, and you'll get more of that same garbage.
Have you connected with Congressman Tim Burchett yet, the head of Doge?
I have not. I
Okay.
have not.
Y'all need to meet.
It has to happen.
I have not.
Yeah, maybe he could help. He is a congressman from Knoxville, where I grew up, and
Okay.
he just was assigned the new chairman of the Doge committee. So maybe y'all could do some work together.
Yeah,
He's great.
No, I would love to meet that. I would love to meet him. You know, another thing in terms of, and this bridges the values and actually cost and affordability, the NIH announced that no longer would grants be available or go toward studies using.
Welcome back to Rightside Radio. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. And now, because there's a lot of Alabama stories to discuss, we'll do our best to get it all in before, well, we're just going to do our best to get it all in. Okay, I make no promises. All right, number one, story numero uno. The PSC is dead.
The Public Service Commission, PSC. Yeah.
Public Service Commission, a story written by Trent Baker. Legislation changing the Public Service Commission to an appointed entity was pulled from the calendar on Thursday. That would today. That's today. Questions linger. I have to get that verb tense correct. About what happens next. The bill's sponsor, State Rep Chip Brown. JP, did you know we had a place in Alabama called Hollinger's Island?
No, but nothing ever surprises me about Bama names now.
JP, Hollinger's Island? Okay, anyway, Chip
Never heard of
Brown.
it.
I've never heard of it. I've lived here most of my life.
I've lived here for 23 years. I never heard of it.
I'm not going to tell you how long I've lived here. All right, it offends me. My whole life. I love being here, but it offends me how old I am. Told reporters that he was unsure if this bill would come back this session. In a press gaggle, I love that word, gaggle. Gaggle. House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter commented on the PSC bill being delayed after it had initially been on the calendar. He said, "We had the votes. Is this the people that they nicknamed Banjo? Is this that guy?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. Anyway, everybody has their nicknames. Don't get your knickers in a twist, okay? All right, nicknames are funny. We had the votes in the House. He told reporters we had enough to pass it. It just came down to the fact that we didn't have for sure in the Senate that we could get it out. I think the Senate wasn't ready to get the bill. I talked to the pro tem multiple times about it, and the thing for them is it's better to wait and see where it lands. I think our members were willing to step up and make a hard vote." All right, listen. One of our friends recently said to us, perhaps in the last hour or so, make this make sense. Why were people, okay, because this was going, the Public Service Commission is something we vote on. We had Matt Gentry on last week. He's running for Public Service Commission place 1. Jim Ziegler is running for Public Service Commission place 2 or 3. I don't know. There's only 3 spots. So we could vote on it, and suddenly they decided they wanted it appointed. So people called yesterday and said, we do not want this appointed. We want to be able to vote, which is great. This is what we want. This is what happens when people say, yeah, y'all are not going to pull this one on us. But it's ironic. It's ironic, and our friend brought some heat when he said this. He said it's funny. They think we're smart enough to vote for gambling, but not for the Public Service Commission.
Can you say that one more time for the people in the back?
They think we're smart enough to vote for gambling, but not enough to vote for the Public Service Commission.
Yeah. Which is really the whole crux of the critique on this bill, is that you're taking it away from the people and saying that the government knows best. And that's just, I don't know. As conservatives, we're anti-big government on most issues, you know? So it seems a bit antithetical to say that you want to take it away from the people and entrust these ever so trustworthy government to appoint for you. Yeah, I don't buy it, but I will say, and this is a good sign of like what our friend told us, of the people made their voices heard, and some, but enough of the representatives listened to their constituents and changed their mind and backtracked. Which is what politics is supposed to be. Like, you know, something comes up you don't like, you make your voice heard, and your representative listens to you, the constituent, and represents you correctly. And I think that's what we saw here, where certain members of the government wanted this to get rammed through, and constituents said, I don't like that. And enough representatives said, okay, well, then I will be against it. And that was enough to make a shift and make a change. So I don't know. Will they try to ram it again later on this session or in the future? I don't know, but I think it's a win in terms of the people making their voices heard and actually having an effect.
It's a huge win. It is a huge, huge win for the people that they made calls, they sent emails, they texted, they reached out. This is how it works. And when it works this way, I'm not going to say it. I want to say, as Gen Z would say, clock it.
Clock it.
Clock it. But we say round of applause. We adults say round of applause. Again, everybody should have a JP. Okay. The soundtrack of our lives. Okay. Story numero uno. Okay. Hold on. Marking off. Okay. Number 2.
For our English friends, that's number 1. Sorry, go ahead.
So then we have number 2. This is another one. Get ready with all the sound effects.
Uh-huh.
This is from Yellowhammer. Okay. Because I'm saving the sports story for last, good sir. So Sherry Blevins in Yellowhammer wrote a story. New York Times opinion column spotlights Alabama schools for post-pandemic gains. Ivy says nothing accidental about it. But a New York Times opinion column is putting Alabama's public schools in the national spotlight, praising the state as a national leader in post-pandemic academic recovery and pointing to its accountability and early literacy policies as a model other states could follow.
How about that?
That's so good.
That may be my new favorite sound effect. That's great.
Makes me happy. Opinion columnist Nicholas Kristof wrote that Alabama, along with Mississippi and Louisiana, is driving what he described as a Southern education surge with measurable gains in math, reading, attendance, student performance, even as many states continue to struggle with lingering learning loss. That's impressive.
That is impressive.
So I wonder, we are number 1 in the nation, according to Kristof, in math recovery from pandemic learning. Now, we need to just pause right here. The next time, we need to remember this. The next time they say y'all need to stay at home, your kids do not need to go to class, we're going to learn online. Please, let's not forget what that did to our kids. We now have something called math recovery because we lost so much during that time. But we've recovered. And that is impressive. So Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. I know in Mississippi, they're using an old-fashioned term you and I called phonics. Probably using that here as well, because I'm sorry, that's the only way to teach reading. You got to be able to sound it out. You cannot do whole language and guess at words. You cannot guess at sounds. You cannot do that. It doesn't work. So bravo, Alabama, for catching the eye of the New York Times in our learning leaps forward. Okay. Well done. All right. That's story number 2. So good job. Yay, Alabama. All right. All right. Number 3, there was a shooting in Montgomery, according to Aaliyah. Do you have that story? JP, it's been so long.
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Let's see.
What is she saying?
I'm sorry. I just let to. We'll pull it up. Yeah. Okay. So so this is from the Aaliyah Facebook page. Aaliyah confirms special agent shot during incident in Montgomery. The Alabama law enforcement agency confirms that a special agent assigned to Aaliyah's SWAT team was struck by gunfire during an officer-involved shooting that occurred on Wednesday, February 11th at approximately 5:51 p.m. in the 4000 block of Longleaf Drive in Montgomery, located within Montgomery County. The special agent was transported to a local hospital for treatment, and the incident occurred when an Aaliyah, is that how you say it?
Alabama, Aaliyah.
I keep wanting to say Aaliyah. It's Aaliyah.
Okay.
SWAT and officers assigned to the metro area crime suppression unit were working in enforcement detail in Montgomery. The situation is currently under active investigation. No further details are available at this time. We ask for prayers and support for the special agent, their family, and the members of our agency during this time.
That is not good, but we will pray.
Yeah, cool.
We will pray. Question.
Yeah.
Story number 4. I know people in our brain psychologically can remember 3 things. So we're just wipe it. Okay, it's clean. Story number 4 is actually a sports story. So I'm wondering, JP.
You want to take a break?
I feel like we should take a break because this is a story. Actually, there are 2 stories left. There are 5 stories in our Alabama block today. A sports story, but also a University of Alabama story.
You're going to get me riled up with this sports story.
I know. That's the point. So don't go anywhere because y'all won't pay attention to these stories. Okay? We'll be right back.
Fetal tissues.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Again, Jay Bhattacharya, who is at NIH, he is an amazing warrior for this country. He's an amazing warrior for health. He is a believer. He's a brother in that respect. He's an amazing scientist. But NIH announced dollars aren't going to go toward those grants. So if those studies are going on, the money's going to be pulled. If you apply for studies, grants for studies that use that aborted fetal tissue no longer. So what does that do? Number one, it's a win for life. Yeah. It's also a win for dollars that we have in this country for legitimate studies and research not going toward that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Our dollars, the dollars that we pay, tax dollars, will be going towards studies that actually improve health and actually promote life and actually do things to advance the health of this country. Again, is that affordability? 100%, because it'll make the country healthier. We will have better affordability. Our tax dollars won't go towards studies that aren't going to help this country get better. And I think that's huge. I was so proud of when I saw that come out.
And it is huge because it's also very hard for people to even believe that was happening in the first place. There's another, probably along the lines of COVID and you're a vaccine denier. Those kinds of things don't happen, but it did.
They do.
And this is remarkable that it doesn't happen anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, so many good things being done. I'm a Catholic Christian. In this administration, you don't have to check your faith at the door when you practice medicine or you want to care for patients. I say this because one of the things that the president is pushing and Secretary Kennedy is very strong on is conscience protections. In other words, if you're a physician or you're a nurse or you're a pharmacist or you're a healthcare provider and you say, you know what, this goes against my deeply held faith, my deeply held convictions, under the last administration or under Democrats, you'd be persecuted. Yes. You'd be disparaged, right? Not under this administration. So the conscience protections are there. If I was still practicing, I wouldn't have to worry that I was going to be attacked by the left because I didn't want to take part in some procedure that was against my conviction. So conscience protections are very important, but they're really being pushed and really being strengthened by this president and by Secretary Kennedy and all of us at HHS.
Well, the left does not check their religion at the door. So,
no, that's right.
No, their whatever progressive woke agenda does not get checked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we like to do something a little different. We call it the lightning round or
Okay.
your exit questions.
Okay.
These are like, just be Brian Christine.
I will be Brian
Ju-
Christine.
Take
I can't do any.
take
I
off
can't
your
do anything
admiral
else.
hat. These are just kind of to get to know you
Okay.
as a person. So, what was your very first job?
My very first job, I worked at a Baskin Robbins when I was in high school. And I think it was a terrible decision for the individual who employed me because I probably spent more time in the freezer eating ice cream than I actually did. No, I didn't really. But I worked at a Baskin Robbins. That was the first job. I did do some work at
Remember Baskin Robbins.
living in Augusta. There's a military base close by, Fort Gordon. And I worked at the commissary there, which was like the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I bagged groceries. And I did that during the summers. And that wasn't, got tips. And so there was that. But the first job I had where I actually got paid and all that kind of stuff was at Baskin Robbins.
Favorite?
That's old school.
That's straight up old school.
Yeah.
Favorite flavor?
Oh, favorite flavor, pralines and cream.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's so southern. Wow.
What's that?
I
I can't believe
I
you
was in
didn't say
Augusta,
pralines.
Georgia.
Well, yeah, Praline.
Well, you know, I am an Army brat, so we've moved around a
You
fair bit. But yeah, but it was that was a lot of fun because I ate my way through a lot of ice cream.
And we say bravo. You know?
They're putting in another, like, I haven't seen Baskin Robbins in forever, and I swear I drove by somewhere and they're putting one
I
in.
think they are. I think
I
I know
thought
what
they
you're
were
talking
bankrupt.
about.
And just in case Secretary Kennedy is going to watch this podcast, I have reformed my ways, boss. I know
in the
that
past.
I know that pralines and cream is not very maha, but you know what? A little
No,
bit of
no,
sweet
back
now and
then-
again is okay.
No,
This
back
is
then
way
I
back
bet
when.
it was made with like no fake anything. I bet it
Milk,
was legit
sugar.
in the like 80s or 90s.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was tasty.
yeah. No,
I-
I'm pretty sure. Just maybe don't go work at the new one.
Biggest pet peeve.
Biggest pet peeve I have, I think, is that people will complain but not stand up for what's right. In other words, how many times have I seen, for instance, physicians who complain so much about the government and so much about what's going on in healthcare, but if you ask them to get out and support candidates who support, literally go to rallies or to give donations, because you have to be able to fund campaigns, they won't do anything.
Yes.
That I've seen that with physicians. Now, lawyers, I believe, are 100% the opposite way. They will get engaged and get involved, but there are so many physicians who will complain and won't do anything to help the situation. That is a peeve of mine.
I think that's probably, we could go in that category.
Well, I'm sure
I'm
you've
gonna-
seen that
yeah.
as well.
Absolutely. It's really hard to get people convinced that what you do matters. But you're right, complaining without act. Welcome back to Rightside Radio. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. So here's the story. It's from Walisha Morris, and this is the story. A University of Alabama fraternity has been suspended for 4 years after hazing incidents last year.
Can I guess the fraternity?
Well, I was going to ask if you wanted to guess.
Okay, good. Pike.
Nope.
Really?
Are they bad?
Pike,
So bad.
Pike got suspended right before I got to Alabama for stuff like that. Was it?
It's. I'll give you this. 3 words.
I was gonna say Sigma Chi. That's not them.
Sigma's in the name, but something's before that.
What is it?
Delta Sig
Ooh.
lost university recognition and its chapter house until 2030
That's insane.
after hazing incidents in April and September of 2025. 4 additional fraternities were disciplined this year. Hazing is strictly prohibited and is a matter the university takes seriously, said Alex House. The university's priority is the well-being and safety of its students. A little suggestion here. Maybe we should have checked into this before now,
Mm-hmm.
because the hazing at UA is legendary.
Oh, it's bad.
Bad. Can you say any of the things you know of that has happened before or have happened before? Excuse me.
One of my best friends growing up, his oldest brother was in a frat at Alabama. I don't know which frat. He actually was in a wheelchair for months from hazing. They made them all stand in buckets of ice and walked around and dumped salt in each bucket He had like second or I think third degree burns on his legs from it. Was had to go to the hospital. That frat was punished. I don't know to what extent, but yeah, Alabama fraternities they're bad. I think when I was there, they locked pledges in a basement and made them drink copious amounts of beer each before they were allowed up out of the basement.
Ew.
So,
Well, you were right about thinking. Did you say theta? Did you say theta chi?
my guess was Pike and Sigma Chi.
So theta chi, sigma tau.
Sigma Tau.
I don't know that one. Sigma pi and delta kappa epsilon. I don't know. I barely know any of the names. My husband was a KA. That's all I know. And he still won't tell me about the things they talked about. What I do know is hazing is real. And I'm very glad they're handling this. But what in the world actually happened to take their house? That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Okay. Now, last story of the 5. Here's the story, because there were 5 stories. Bruce Pearl commenting. Sports. What in the world was he saying, JP?
So I'll play a quick clip. Bruce Pearl, the former Auburn coach, who's now a TNT analyst, he was talking about how Charles Bediako, the Alabama player who was ruled ineligible by a judge earlier this week, he had this to say on TNT 2 nights ago about Nate Oates.
And they make a decision. Nate said he'd play him 100 times again. What it tells me is that Nate really doesn't care about the SEC. He doesn't care about the NCAA, and it's fine. You're going to care about your student athletes, that's fine. But you remember this conference, and you remember the NCAA. What about the rest of the team? What about the rest of the players? Why should those 5 teams have had to play against an ineligible player? And I think it was selfish, and I think it was wrong.
So, okay. Tell me if I'm wrong, all right? Tell me if I'm off base here. But if you're a coach for a team and you want to do something to win, which, by the way, other teams in the NCAA like Baylor, Ole Miss, who have pro players playing on their team, if you've got a situation like that where you think a precedent has been set and you can allow Charles Bediako to come back and it will help you win, do you think as a competitor, as a college basketball coach, you're going to say, gee, that would really help us out a lot, but man, Auburn, Texas A&M, we don't want to put them in a bad spot, you know? Like, we don't want to make them feel bad. We are a member of the SEC. We're all supposed to get along. And no, you're a competitor. You do what it takes to win. A judge ruled what he ruled. Now Charles is not allowed to play. And Nate Oates is going to abide by that. But during that time where there's a temporary restraining order and Bediako is allowed to play, Bruce Pearl knows. Bruce Pearl, by the way, who, go look up his history, who had a 3-year show ban for his violations at Tennessee. Okay. So you probably shouldn't throw rocks from a glass house. I'm just saying, Bruce Pearl and his holier than thou mindset. You should think about the rest of the SEC and the NCAA over your student athletes. Give me a break. Okay. As a competitor, as a coach, you don't consider the other team. You step on their neck and you do what you think you need to do to win. Period. The end. Okay. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I love winners. That's the mindset.
That's what you have to do to, like, I don't know. The whole, Nate Oates isn't going to consider the other teams and their feelings. What do they have to go up against it? Come on, dude.
The whole recruiting process is how many people can you gather on your team so that they can all step on each other's necks, kick each other in the butt, and win. What is hard about that? And if one team's doing it, they're all doing it. The whole thing is corrupt, by the way. So stop. Just stop with the sanctimoniousness of that comment.
Bruce Pearl does hate violations. I'll give him that. If you don't believe me, just Google Bruce Pearl violations and go look for yourself.
Here's the thing. Would he be a great politician? Yes.
Yeah, he would.
Okay.
That's true.
But this goes back to the conversation we had earlier. We can hold space for appreciating a person, but not liking what they have to say. It's fine. Okay. We still like you, Brucey.
I don't.
But that, use a different argument. That one didn't work.
He's maybe trying to deflect on how bad Auburn is this year. How awful Auburn is this year.
Oh, well. Okay. So we've got the 2 at 4:30. Maybe a phone call. You'll have to just wait and see. We'll be right back. you're just yapping in the wind.
You know what? Give
we need more
donations
than
if
that.
you can. Knock doors. You've all done that. We've all done that.
Yep.
Go out there, put signs up, right? Do what you can do. If you really believe that things are a problem, then get out there and do something about it.
That's right.
It's kind of like teachers who, teachers are like the same. They're scared to put themselves out there and do anything to make changes. Like, if we all got together, we could actually do something. I don't know. Is it my turn? Or
It's your turn.
Okay.
It's your turn.
What's one new skill you would like to master because you have so much free time?
One new skill I would
Like
like
a
to
hobby
master.
or something you want to learn.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I know this is lightning round, but I'm thinking about that. I would say one thing I do wanted to get better at is because one of the reasons I wanted to be the Assistant Secretary for Health was that because number one, because with Levine and the last time, I knew there were so many wrongs we had to right. And so that drew me, but also because the role of the assistant secretary, we talked about this, part of the role being communication and being out there, being out front, communicating things to the American people. I want to get better at that. I'd like to sharpen my skills on that. I think because I've had to communicate with people as patients for so long, I think I do a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But this is a new kind of thing when you're doing interviews or you're doing extemporaneous things. I'd like to get my skill set better so that I can better message for the president and for Secretary Kennedy.
I think you're a good communicator.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. We can always do things better, but I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
You're thoughtful and well-spoken, but you're not like robotic.
Yeah.
You talk to a lot of politicians and it's like you feel like you're just getting like a bunch of talking points that they've said a million times. I don't get that with
No,
you at all.
not at all.
Good.
Not at all.
Don't turn into that.
No.
3 more quick questions. 1, what was your nickname growing up?
My nickname, that's interesting. Sammy was my nickname.
Okay.
So my name is Brian Sam Christine. Now, you wouldn't know this by looking at my last name, Christini, but I'm Italian-American. My grandfather, my dad's father, was Biagio Christini, Christini, right? My father's,
Great name.
I know, my father's sister, my Aunt Helen, who has passed, her name was Helen Christini, Christini, on her birth certificate. My dad was Alexander Christine, Christine. And so, my dad could never explain how that change occurred. Who knows? But my middle name is Sam, named after my father's uncle, Sam, who passed away. But my nickname was Sammy. And so part of the reason it was Sammy is because there was Sam. But do you remember the movie Disney, Sammy the Way Out Seal? I guess you don't. I guess I'm showing my
remember.
age. It was a seal, yes. And so, I love that movie. And so people call me Sammy.
The Way Out.
Seal.
I bet.
Seal as in not as in
Yeah. What, did he live way out there or
Well,
was he
it was a cool.
Now we're
It's
gonna have
funny.
to find
Typical.
it. Sinclair.
Back when Disney actually made movies
Yes.
that you'd want to take your kids to, right?
Yeah.
So Sammy was my nickname.
Okay. This was my question. You don't have to answer it.
Sure.
But what's RFK Jr. really like? Is he like what you see on TV?
He is. This is going to sound like I'm slinging a line, but he's amazing. When I got so my process was I wanted to serve in the administration, wanted to serve at HHS, and I really was liking the idea. I wanted to serve as the Assistant Secretary for Health. So I knew someone who was in the transition team. I sent my CV, and they said, we've showed it around to people, put a formal application in with the transition team. I did that. Had a couple of phone interviews, and then last year I got the word. They said, listen, we want you to come interview with Mr. Kennedy. And so I went down and I interviewed with RFK. And in the room also was Jim O'Neill, the deputy now the deputy secretary. They were there interviewing me. So I step into the room, and I step into the room with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It was, number one, it was almost kind of surreal that here I am, the little guy from Alabama who's talking to RFK Jr. He is like you see him. He's a very kind man. He's an incredibly thoughtful man. I'm going to say he's a humble man in that he's not afraid to say, in my life, I've made mistakes. I've had substance abuse issues. He's not afraid to admit mistakes. He's not afraid to admit wrongs, but he's not afraid to stand for what he believes. He's a really kind man. He's a really thoughtful man. So that, again, I believe he's like, to me, and when I've seen him with his wife, when I've seen.
Welcome back to Rightside. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. And before we share our stories with you, we have a call from our friend Jeff.
That'd be Jeff from Indiana.
Indiana. Oh wow.
That would be Jeff. That would be Jeff in traffic, just getting passed by somebody doing over 100 mile an hour.
We heard that actually.
That was
Yeah.
not great. You know, Jeff, I need to know how you got flying squirrels as a kid.
We were in the sawmill business. We were loggers, so you find all kinds of things in trees back then.
I knew it.
So you cut down a tree that's got a squirrel's nest in it. And had a couple little flying squirrels in there, and Dad brought them home. And I was a little kid, and I made the mistake of trying to hold one, and it just about took my finger off.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine. I can't imagine.
But what was funny, I had them in the basement and everything. They was kind of loose in the house. Didn't really mean for it to, but they got loose and couldn't catch them. And I had a dachshund at the time, and we had a clothes wire across the basement with Mom hanging clothes on and stuff. Well, these squirrels would go up and run across this wire, upside down and all the time on top of it and everything else. And my poor little dog was sitting down there and just sitting in a pile of drool, just wanting to get those squirrels so bad.
I bet. Oh, I bet.
But the best thing to have is a crow.
A crow.
Yeah, a crow is real neat. We got one fell out of a tree one time. I had a nest and it was a young one, and I took it over to my girlfriend at the time to give it to her brother, which is my wife now. And I let it loose in the house there and everything, and fed it a few times, and then turned it outside, and it wouldn't leave. And
Really?
It would sit, and she was working at the Kentucky Fried Chicken at the time, and this crow would sit on top of the house, and they had a circular driveway, and would sit there and watch her drive up, and would go around the house. And when she stopped, it would fly down and land on top of the car and look at her and go, ah! And she's scared to death of the thing. So she would bring home biscuits to throw out the window to distract it so she could get to the house.
That's nuts.
Did it ever leave?
Well, it finally got eaten, I guess you would say, because it would, the dogs and cats had a bowl outside and everything for outside dogs and cats. And it would sit there and eat with the cats and the dogs, and sit there and pick stuff out of the bowl. And then I guess one day the cat must have got a little bit too jealous, and the crow become part of the meal.
That darn cat.
That darn cat.
That's funny. What's on your mind today, Jeffro?
This transgendered stuff and everything.
Yeah.
It's like you say that. When you got people, there's not that many people who actually are that way or think that way. There's a few it's a mental illness, but then you got the cosplayers, I'd say, because we don't have these kind of numbers come up in wanting to be trans that from a normal amount of number, and it's when you're a loser and you basically say, well, nobody's paying attention to me, but since it's okay to be trans now and actually preferred to be, and, I have more rights than you, and you have to, conform to my pronouns, so-called. And, it's a way of getting attention. And it's like they say, attention is attention, good or bad. It's still attention.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. And they'll do anything for it.
Yeah. And we're paying the price for that now. Like I say, it used to be, everybody was in the closet because it was kind of derogatory to be gay or whatever. And then it sprang up and became, it's like, well, I'll show you, we've been hidden for all this time. And now we're going to come out here and stick our thumb in your eye. And, we're going to march around half naked in these parades and stuff. And have days and months after us and stuff. And it's just spiraled out of control. It's like, I don't care if you're gay or straight. I don't go parading around saying I'm a heterosexual. I'm married, to a woman and stuff. But, to each his own. But, it's just over the top, like almost everything.
I agree, especially when they start shooting up schools and given their pronouns correctly or so-called correctly according to them by the police chief. It's disappointing that they're continuing to do that crap. But Jeffro,
and it's not firearms, because when I went to school, every kid in the rural school, everybody had a pickup truck, had a shotgun and a rifle in the back window and stuff. We always brought it to school.
Yeah.
So, it's not the guns that's the problem. It's the mindset.
That's true. Well, Jeffro, we got to do the 2 before we end the show today, but we appreciate you calling in as always.
Y'all have a good one.
You too. See ya.
He's right. It's the hearts have changed. That's what's changed. Okay, JP. Now it's time for the 2. But only for a few days, and we'll go back to being the 3.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a story that I'm very excited about because we've had discussions that we are all against sending our kids, our young men and women, to war for what and where and when does it end? We're not for that. And Trump has said he's not for endless wars. Well, he's doing something I agree with. This is from Not the Bee, John Knox, although I think that has got to be a pseudonym. Anyway, the U.S. is going to send 200 troops to Nigeria to train them to kill jihadis. Now, that is something I can get behind. The genocide of Christians has gone on for at least 10 years, maybe longer. And we were worried that maybe we would send troops. We didn't know. But the Wall Street Journal is reporting that they're sending the troops to Nigeria to train the country's troops. This is repetitive. I understand. It's their words. It's right here. To fight Islamist militants weeks after President Trump accused the government of failing to protect Christians from attacks, an American military official said. I appreciate this because he's sending people to teach them how to fend for themselves. This is tremendous change. We'll help you, but this is how we're going to help you. You have to do the fighting yourself. And I say, bravo. The people of Nigeria deserve to know how to fight back, but we also are doing it, I think, in the right way. And I am very supportive of that.
Yeah, I am too. Having it, I don't know exactly what it will look like long term, but I'm all for that too.
Yeah.
We won't have to get involved further down the line if we can train them up now.
Exactly.
So I agree.
Exactly. So I think that is a very conservative principle of, hey, we'll teach you how to do it, and then we expect you to go out and do it for yourself. Mm-hmm. So awesome.
That is awesome. I agree. My story is a little bit less of a story, more of just a funny soundbite about why I love RFK.
That I'm not scared of a germ. You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me. Right. Like if I don't.
Whose podcast is he on?
This is Theo Vaughn's podcast. We'll play it one more time. Direct quote from RFK.
And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. You know, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
Wow. Okay. How's that for honesty?
You know, we had a great podcast with Brian Christine, who is his number 2, essentially. And he talked about how RFK is so much of an open book and honest about his past downfalls and able to move past it. But yeah, it's funny. On one hand, it's kind of crazy to hear a HHS secretary say they're not scared of germs because they used to do cocaine off of toilet seats. But also, it's such the that he's moved past it and learned from it, and he's able to be so honest and open about it and humble about it that he can make jokes like that. So I don't know. It's just little moments like that of somebody who can crack jokes at themselves while also being serious about what they believe in. That's why I love RFK.
Yeah.
And why he is how he is.
I agree with you. It is refreshing. It's human. It's from somebody who knows what they're talking about because he has felt the effects of what horrible choices look like. His body has retained, I'm sure, because when you use drugs like that, you're not ever the same. And now he's taking that wisdom and he's using it and applying it to the citizens of America. We're great for that. Like, I don't understand why people have conniption fits about what he's trying to do. The dude knows what he's talking about. And he's probably more honest than most people, even in that administration.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of politicians are like this, but especially the left and Rachel Levine, who think themselves of as God almost, that they can impose what they want on other people and they can make you do what they want, but also I can have your kids' body parts chopped off because I think it's the right thing to do. But I am God, I am perfect. You listen to me, and I know what's right. And then RFK is like, dude, I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. Okay, I'm not better than you, but I have strong convictions and I have strong beliefs, and I'm going to fight for them because I think they're correct. But it's not because I am God and mightier than thou. It's because I've been there, done that. I got scars, but I'm going to fight for what I think is right. So I don't know. It's just it's a little peek into the humility of RFK, but also why I think everybody loves him so much. So
agree.
I just thought it was a funny clip. You know?
Completely agree. Also, let's be honest. Aren't we all really sick of germaphobes?
Yeah.
I mean, like, of course you're going to wash your hands in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bathroom.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, like we get it. I cook a lot. I'm going to wash my hands. You wash your hands.
Mhm.
But for the people that are completely obsessed about having no germs, I can tell you from my husband's point of view, germs are not your problem. Bad eating and poor drinking, that's your problem. No exercise, that's your problem.
Some germs are good germs.
Some germs, he would agree, are great germs. Your body needs germs. If you don't have any germs, you're going to get sick all the time. I know that doesn't make any sense. So I really appreciate what RFK Jr. says. Also, if you haven't taken a look at our podcast,
Yes.
shall I plug that for you now?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's at rightsidemedia.org. It's also on all social platforms. Just type us in, you'll find us. We interviewed him this past weekend, and because JP is a whiz, you guys have it. So we'd be thrilled if you would listen, because Brian Christine has so many good things to say. Very wise about what he's doing, has so much to offer. We're proud, yes, that he's from Alabama, but it's just interesting. I mean, the whole time you want to know what he has to say. And he does talk about RFK Jr.
He does.
A little bit. So please, if you haven't, we invite you to check out our first podcast. Others are rolling out soon, but our first podcast with Brian Christine, who is RFK Jr.'s number 2. Like, share, subscribe, so you don't miss out on anything that we do. And we got a lot of things up our sleeves.
That we do.
You want to be a part of it. We want you to be a part of it. We invite you. You shouldn't have to lose your mind with what's going on out there. Okay. And with us, you won't have to, because we're like a tribe. We're our people. You're safe here. We discuss all the things. All right. Look, when we come back, it's going to be, would you rather? It could be never have I ever. Like, I don't know. And you don't either, which is why you're going to stay tuned and figure out what we're asking each other right after the break.
With us, it's amazing. So let me give you a story, recent story. I told you that I'm the head of the Commission Corps, the Public Health Service officers. About 2 weeks ago, I got alerted from one of my admirals that one of our Commission Corps officers had done something really amazing. A lot of our officers are deployed to the Indian Health Service that takes care of health care on the Indian reservations for Native Americans and Alaskan Natives. Okay, we staff a lot of the Indian Health Service. There was one of our therapists, one of our mental health workers, who was out in Pine Ridge, which is in one of the Dakotas, but IHS, and was going to a high school, the local high school, and was supposed to meet with students who were having mental health concerns and wanted to talk, and only one student showed up. And so the administrator at the school said, you know what, to my officer, you know what, go home. You know, and this is Lieutenant Fellows. Go home, Lieutenant Fellows. There's only one person here. And she said, no, I'm here to take care of the kids. So start talking to this 14-year-old young girl. The 14-year-old young girl related a history of trauma and abuse, suicidal ideation. Lieutenant Fellows, I'm so proud of her. She stayed with that child. She made sure that the school teachers and all stayed with that child while she got arrangements made to transport that child to a hospital. The child was evaluated, was admitted because of ideation. As they're taking the child into the hospital, in her bag, she had a suicide note written that day, dated that afternoon. She had a noose that she had made.
Oh.
And she said, had it not been for Lieutenant Fellows, I would have committed suicide that day. So I got this word, and I was like, this is an example of why my officers are so important. And so I related that to Secretary Kennedy's chief of staff. And I said, hey, I'm going to call, just to let you know, I'm going to call Officer Fellows later on this particular Friday. I'm going to call to say personally congratulations, because she works normally at the FDA, office in Salt Lake City, but she had she was deployed out to IHS, to Indian Health Service. Okay. Anywho, I said, I'm going to make a call to congratulate her. So what happens? I get word, Secretary Kennedy wants to make the call with you.
Oh, wow.
So we get on the call. It's a video call. There's my officer. So proud of her. There's my officer. And there's not only the Assistant Secretary for Health, because she was blown away by that, because the prior Assistant Secretary didn't really give a darn about his officers. He wouldn't do things like this. There's the Assistant Secretary speaking to her, and there's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Wow.
His words to her were so meaningful. He didn't have to do that. He did that because he saw someone who went above, who saved a life. That's the kind of man he is. When he sees people doing good, he wants to recognize that. And I think he understands the power of someone at his position and his name recognition, telling this officer, you've done so well. Well done. You were a good and faithful servant. That's the kind of guy he is.
He seems very human.
He is very human.
And that's
I think he is. He's
endearing
realistic. I
and
mean,
rare.
he's real. So here's another little story. And I told this at an interview recently. My final interview for the process was at something called the Presidential Personnel Office, PPO. So I interviewed at the White House, not with President Trump, but with his staff office. After having gone through multiple interviews, interviewed with Secretary Kennedy and such, I had that interview at the White House. And after the interview, I was escorted out, and they said, listen, they said that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants you in the position. The final decision will be made by President Trump. And I wanted to go pray. So from the White House, I walked to the Cathedral of St. Matthew, which is the cathedral for the Archdiocese of New York. Every diocese or every region has its cathedral. In this case, the Cathedral of St. Matthew. I'd never been there before. So I walked down the central aisle because I wanted to kneel in front of the high altar to pray. And at the end of the aisle is a disc in the floor. And the disc says, this is where the body of President John F. Kennedy laid in state, on this spot. And so I thought, I want to go work with a man whose father and whose uncle were martyrs for our republic. Forget the politics. If you don't like the politics of John F. Kennedy or Senator Bobby Kennedy, forget it. They literally were willing to die for this country. I know that RFK would die for this country. I know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would shed blood for this country. And so, at that moment, I just hit my knees and I said, God, let me work with this man. And here I am. But that's what he inspires in people. And it's not just me saying this. You talk to anybody at HHS, any of us who've been, put into position there. He inspires us every day. He's amazing.
Wow.
Which is exactly what you have done for us. You inspire us too, and you make Alabama proud. But it seems that we are in very good hands.
Well, that's kind of you to say. I appreciate that. This is a blessing. It is a privilege to wear this uniform. It's a privilege to serve, to work with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It is a privilege to serve President Trump and to serve our republic. It really is. And so do me a favor, pray for us. Pray for us at HHS. Pray for the president. Pray for Secretary.
Welcome back to Rightside Radio. So JP decided that our would you rathers were not great.
Well, the ones I found were not very good. So
we've used a lot of them. JP, do you think we should start inventing our own?
That'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be fun.
Probably just keep a list. Make up our own. The next time we all go to Chewy's.
Oh man,
I love that place.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm. Don't be jealous, but I'm about to go there.
Chewy's in South Huntsville had a fire not too long ago, actually, but I think it's back up.
That's tragic. Is everybody okay?
I think it was just a kitchen fire, but it was closed for a good bit. I think it's back up, but alas.
Okay. All right. You go first.
Okay, we're gonna do random trivia questions. Some of these are hard.
Okay.
Benjamin Franklin was a key figure in drafting of the United States Constitution. Which state did he represent during the Constitutional Convention in 1787?
Delaware.
No. I'll give you two more guesses.
Pennsylvania.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Pennsylvania.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's where I was born. I should have known that. I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
Everybody forgive me. Sorry. All right, JP.
Uh-huh.
You're going to get this. What gas do plants take in from the air during photosynthesis?
They suck in
two words.
Carbon dioxide.
Yes, you got it.
I was gonna say carbon dioxide, but I just, I had to double check in my head. Okay, we're good. Let's see. I gotta find one that's not too hard.
Yeah, don't, because I already got JP. Let me have a mulligan on that.
What animal? Okay, this is a trick question. What animal is known to laugh and has been proven to have a sense of humor?
Hyena.
No.
It's not a hyena?
No.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. That's why it's a trick question.
What human?
No. I'll give you one more guess.
I have no idea.
A rat.
A rat?
A rat apparently is an animal known to laugh and has been proven to have a sense of humor. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I like that a lot. All right, well, I'm going to make this really hard.
Okay.
Don't get this right, just so we can keep it even. What's the capital city of Australia?
Melbourne.
Nope.
No, wait, no.
I'm going to be mad if you get this right.
It's not Sydney.
Mm-mm.
It's not Melbourne, seriously?
Mm-mm.
Geez. I don't know.
Canberra.
Yeah, right. This is why I don't care about capital cities or states anymore. Okay. Who's heard of Canberra? It's obviously Melbourne. Okay. Let me find a not too hard one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Okay, some of these are too easy now. Hold on. Sorry. If you wanna pull one for me while I find one, then that's okay.
Which planet is known as the god of war?
Which
planet is known as the god of war? This is from mythology and astronomy.
Neptune.
Is that your best guess?
Now it's not. I'll go Neptune. Yeah.
Mars.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In what year did the Berlin Wall fall?
I was there right after it fell. Oh dear. What if I get this wrong? Oh dear. 1986?
No, but close.
Hold on. I was in college in 1989.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
All right, since you
Close?
asked, yeah.
Okay.
Since you asked me too, I got one more for you.
Okay.
What is the largest island in the world?
I don't really enjoy that question.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's been in the news recently.
Really?
Yes, this is why I'm asking it.
The largest island in the world. Why? Define it's been in the news recently.
We've talked about it on this show recently.
What? We have?
Yeah.
Do they have accents there? I'm going all spelling bee on you.
I assume they do.
You assume they do. Australia?
No. I'll give you one more guess.
I have no idea.
Greenland.
What? Oh, I'm sorry I missed that one. Boy, I'm sorry. We're going to try again tomorrow.
Yes, we are.
And it's going to be Friday, you guys. JP on sports, Clown World, and a bunch of news. You don't want to miss any minute of it. Y'all go out and have a great rest of your Thursday. Until next time, see ya.